Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto seals the Jubi in himself. Before I start, please support for more amazing content, and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by Mirabilis1235 and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. The initial battle for the allied shinobi forces had resulted in their victory. Their enemy indeed had superior numbers, but they lacked the same amount of skill. Each resurrected warrior from Kabuto's Edo Tensei, Impure Resurrection, aided whoever they fought with tips on how to counter their styles. The shinobi forces had lost quite a few of their number during this first assault, but Madara had lost his entire clone army, which gave them time to prepare for the next wave. They sent ninjutsu specialists to train Naruto in as many jutsu as possible while they had the chance. The Kyuubi Jinchuriki had even more chakra than Killer Bee, and the Raikage believed he might be one of the only shinobi alive that would be able to use all 5 elements due to the sheer amount of raw chakra he had at his disposal. Naruto, after being informed of the war by Iruka, had wanted to join in the fray, but after extensive explanations and pleading, the young shinobi agreed to remain for the time being. 2 years passed and he had learned quite a bit of ninjutsu from various shinobi, the main one being his sensei Kakashi, who might not have been able to perform all the ninjutsu he had copied over the years, but he could show Naruto the hand signs while explaining what each did. Wind and fire were his strongest affinities, while the other 3 required a much larger chunk of chakra to perform. Finally, Madara had struck again with an army, this time in even greater numbers. The allied forces were hard-pressed, and their numbers started to drop one by one. With great reluctance, the Raikage decided to let the remaining 2 Jinchuriki fight. His decision proved to be foolish. As soon as they arrived on the battlefield, Bee was taken away by the same teleportation jutsu he had seen Madara use at the Kage summit. They had all felt the wave of chakra and explosions in the distance. Naruto, having begun thinking of Bee as his brother during the time together, had launched towards the area of the battle, ignoring everyone's screams for him. With his mastered Kyuubi enhanced form while in Sage mode, Naruto could move at speeds close to the Hiraishin. Reaching the battle, he saw Bee unconscious on the ground with Madara and Sasuke gazing down at him on Naruto-kun. What a pleasant surprise. Sasuke, take him down, soon it will all be over, Kabuto, and I shall extract the Hachibi using Edo Tensei, Madara stated in a cheerful tone before he and Bee vanished in a warp. Naruto, still in his enhanced form, snarled, how could you do this, Sasuke? When did the great Uchiha clan become so pathetic? Sasuke roared, don't speak of things you don't understand, Dobe. This ends now. With your death the world will be united under the Uchiha. Susanoo. A great chakra enveloped Sasuke, taking the shape of a giant purple demonic humanoid being with a strangely shaped bow that was large enough to act as a shield. Naruto said nothing. A Kage Bunshin popped into existence next to him, and he formed a Raisin Shuriken. Sasuke, Uchiha is dead. He died years ago, I realize that now. I'm sorry I failed you, Sasuke, goodbye. He tossed the Raisin Shuriken straight towards Sasuke, who merely brought the bow up to block the odd shuriken-shaped jutsu. His eyes widened when the jutsu hit the shield and exploded, the strange chakra human taking the hit. When the dust cleared, he heard insane laughing and the giant chakra beast regenerating until it was complete once more, armor and all. You really think one attack can defeat the completed Susanoo? You are still a dobe. Before he fired off an arrow that Naruto barely avoided. Naruto was staring in shock at the fact his most powerful attack didn't work after a direct hit. The arrow had come at him faster than anything he had seen, but he somehow still managed to avoid it. One of the next 5 connected with him though, and again he was shocked that the arrow managed to pierce through the Yuki coating and his Sage mode body. Coughing up blood, he looked up just in time to see Sasuke striking and bringing down the bow like a sword and slamming into him. Then his world went black. Naruto groaned when he woke up, noticing he was inside his Mindscape in front of the Kyuubi's new cage. You just had to get cocky, didn't you, Gaki? Underestimating your opponent that much? Did you forget he was able to take down the Hachibi Jinchuriki and survive an encounter with all 5 Kages? Naruto merely responded with a baka fox. How was I to know my most powerful attack would do nothing? The fox roared, what did I just say? Are you really that stupid? Now I'm about to get sucked out of you and forced to become one with the others again, while you will die because of your stupidity. Naruto threw his hands up in the air. Then what the fuck am I meant to do then, huh, Kyuubi? I've already lost. The Kyuubi let out another roar. Remove the seal, you stupid child. I have a theory. I don't like it, but it'll keep me from serving that red-eyed freak. Looking at the strongest Bijou in confusion, Naruto snorted, what would freeing you accomplish during the sealing? It would likely just speed things up. The Kyuubi let out a sigh. Not exactly. The method the Uchiha uses to extract the Bijou is the same method the sage used to seal us in him, and the same method he used to separate us into 9 separate beings. I believe if I initiate the merger before I leave you with the other 8 that we will become the Jubi once more, but within you. The same seal array the sage used to confine us will be used on you. You will become the Jinchuriki of the Jubi. Pausing, the mighty Kitsune let out another roar. As much as I don't want to be a part of that damn wolf again, it's going to happen anyway. I'd rather be stuck in an idiot like you than serving that bastard Uchiha. Thankfully your chakra is large thanks to your training to suppress me, so you should survive the intense chakra of the Jubi. Naruto stared up in shock at the Kyuubi before he sat down and let out a sigh. Does that mean I will gain the abilities of the other Bijou? The mighty fox chuckled. Well, at least you sound like you'll do it. No, you will not have the abilities of the other Jinchuriki. Our skills are based on our forms. Like me, all you will gain is enhanced senses and much stronger regeneration speed. He paused before stated you also might be able to use a Kekei Genkai, but I do not know which you will obtain if you even get one. You may even get a few. The beast roared again and seemed to be in great pain. Hurry, brat. If you're going to do this, you need to do it now. Naruto gazed at the Jubi before nodding. He walked over to Jubi, who muttered out, thank you, brat. I hate that damn red-eyed freak, before he ripped off the seal containing the Jubi. Meanwhile, outside the seal. Ha ha ha, finally I have all 9. Once the Jubi is formed, I will become the new Jinchuriki of the Jubi and bring this world to its knees. Madara happily gloated. Sasuke looked over at him and impassively stated, what do you mean? You told me you were going to cast a genjutsu on the moon to bring peace. Madara continued to laugh. Peace? Why would I want peace to a world that has wronged me? I am an avenger just like you, Sasuke. The Jubi is too powerful to be controlled by any Kekei Genkai. I would be unstoppable. Sasuke narrowed his eyes but said nothing. Secretly, once the Jubi was extracted, he would take the beast for himself. Madara has outlived his time. He had surpassed him, and the Jubi will be his to use now. He saw the older Uchiha's true colors. After all, the man was a mere shell of what he once was. He stood no chance against the true Uchiha. Madara stopped laughing when a large glob of red chakra flowed along the 9 dragons into the statue at once. There was mild rumbling coming from the statue containing the 8 bijou. What is this? The process shouldn't be done yet, and the dragons have yet to recede, he stated seriously. His eyes widened when all 9 dragons' chakra flows suddenly changed direction and began heading towards the Jubi Jinchuriki. He shouted out, what, and oh, what trickery is this? Each of the 9 dragons took on a color representing each bijou. Madara tried to cancel the jutsu with his Rinnegan eye, but nothing happened. The rumbling got louder, and the chakra flow got faster. His eyes then looked at the seal on Naruto's stomach, and his eyes widened when there was nothing there at all. How can this be? He willingly released the Jubi. The 9 dragons then left the statue completely, and the last of the chakra went to Naruto, and a detailed seal then appeared on the young Jinchuriki's stomach. Madara let out a loud roar in frustration before he activated his Manjikyu Sharingan, and used Kamui on the nuisance that had ruined his plans, making him disappear. But in his distraction he missed Sasuke activating Susanoo before the young Uchiha killed him with 3 arrows. With Naruto. When Naruto opened his eyes, he found himself in a forest within his mind. Confused at where he was, he stood up and gazed around curiously. He heard a mighty roar from nearby, and turning in the direction he saw a giant silver wolf with 10 tails glaring at him with silver eyes with a black slit down the middle. I see the process was a success. Gaki. Naruto's eyes widened at the familiar tone in the beast's voice. Jubi, I thought you said, the beast roared again. I am not Jubi. I am the Jubi. However, looking at the memories I contain from those that were parts of me, I can see why you would think that. The Jubi contained the most of my essence, so took on a similar form with a similar attitude. He gazed around the area they were in before he continued, I do not have a cage since the seal used to seal me is different from the one used to contain those before. You will not be able to lock me away like you did the Jubi. However, the seal makes me unable to harm you here, and my influence on you is limited when you channel my Yuki. But your body will not handle more than 5 taels worth of my chakra, so never go beyond that until your chakra reserves increase. The sage was thorough in his sealing techniques, but he also allows me to manipulate your mindscape to what I would like to make our existence together more bearable. The massive wolf got a smirk on his face. Thanks to me, your chakra will start increasing to compensate you for holding me. Luckily, since you already contained the strongest part of me, you are able to handle me in the first place. Now, a unique feature of this seal is you will be able to communicate with me anytime while you are awake if you require it. Now I think it is time for you to wake. The Uchiha sent you somewhere, and you need to find out where you are. Then Naruto was launched back to consciousness. Opening his eyes, he saw it was night, and he was in a forest that looked very like the forests surrounding Konoha. Standing up, he felt slightly stiff, so did a few stretches to loosen his joints. He did a few katas as a test before he pulled out a scroll that contained spare clothes since his current clothes were ruined thanks to Sasuke's assault. Once he got changed in black underpants, a black shirt with the Uzumaki symbol on it, and his usual black and orange jacket. He left it upzipped before he put on his sage cloak on his back, red cloak with black flames on the bottom, and launched into the trees heading in the direction of his village. Naruto's eyes immediately widened when he saw the destruction at the entrance to the village with bodies and blood scattered around the village. Ninja were tending to the wounded and sealing up the dead into scrolls. He saw a ninja nearby and jumped towards him. He didn't recognize the man, but he didn't know many of the ninjas in the village before he called out, hey, what the hell happened here? The ninja turned to the new voice and gasped Yandame-sama before the man bowed low. Naruto raised an eyebrow at the greeting before he gazed around the area. No, I'm Naruto. Now what happened here? Standing from his bow, the man took a closer look at Naruto and eyes widened. I'm sorry, it's just you look just like Dash. Never mind. If you just arrived, you probably don't realize what happened. The Jubi was attacking and Yandame-sama arrived before teleporting himself and the beast from the Hokage monument to over there. The man pointed to the distance where there was an eerie red glow. Naruto's eyes widened in shock at what he was just told. Turning to the mountain, he saw only 4 faces. Where was Tsunade Bachan? The Jubi just attacked? The Yandame is fighting it? How can this be? The Jubi, hearing his thoughts, stated, Gaki, I think we're back in time. Naruto froze. What the fuck do you mean back in time? That's impossible, Baka. He heard a roar in his mind before a menacing growl. Do not talk back to me you like that, Gaki. How do you explain what you just heard then? Now you do look like your father, but you must never reveal you're from the future. You might even be able to gain custody of yourself, and give him a good life. Naruto took a deep breath before he responded, why can't I tell anyone, Jubi? The Jubi made a whining-like sound. How did Kyuubi deal with such stupidity on a daily basis? Gaki, first off, no one would believe you. If they did, then they would try to get as much information out of you about the future as possible. You will not reveal the truth to anyone. Naruto muttered under his breath before he turned to the ninja, who informed him, I see. I'm going to back him up. Naruto was about to take off towards the light, but he found he couldn't move. I'm afraid we can't let you leave until you tell us who you are. Shikaka Nara stepped into view, flanked by Chusa Akimichi and Inoichi Yamanaka. My name is Naruto Namikaze. I'm sorry, Shikaka-san, but I have to aid my cousin. Naruto channeled some of the Jubi's chakra into his system and broke out of Shikaka's shadow hold before launching himself into the air, moving at extremely high speeds, making him look like a red and yellow blur. He arrived just as his father yelled out FUIN, sealing a large portion of the Nine Tails chakra into himself, weakening it considerably temporarily. Bijou regenerate their chakra using nature energy, so the beast would only be weakened for a few minutes. Landing nearby the Sandame, and two Jounin who were looking at the new arrival in shock, he muttered, no, you fool. Damn it, I'm too late, before he charged up a Rasengan and slammed it into the barrier. Pushing more and more chakra into it, a hole opened up and he dove through it, channeling more of the Jubi's chakra. His eyes turned silver with black slits, his whiskers thickened, and a silver chakra shroud appeared around him with four tails sticking out from behind. Naruto appeared behind his mother and father in time to block the Kyuubi's claw from piercing them. He threw the claw back, making the Kyuubi land on his back before he ran through hand seals and pinned down the beast with chakra chains like his mother had shown him in his mind. When he conquered the beast, fuck you Kyuubi, the beast's eyes widened at the familiar Yuki, and it stuttered out, H how? Naruto ignored the scared beast, released his Yuki and turned to his parents, who were watching him in shock and awe. Naruto rubbed the back of his head in a familiar manner to all present, and put on a big cheesy grin before he stated, yo. The witnesses' eyes widened in complete shock before Naruto turned serious. I'm sorry, but you need to finish what you started, Minato. I didn't get here in time. If I did, maybe you could have survived, but you've made the deal with the Shinigami already, and there's no turning back. Kushina, you also are too low on chakra, and having a bijou ripped from you is fatal. I'm shocked you're still alive, but you are an Uzumaki after all. Since I stopped the furball here, you have a chance to put more of your chakra into the seal to help your son later. Go ahead before it's too late. Minato got over his shock and stated, while I'm impressed of your knowledge and skill, you did get one piece of information wrong. At Naruto's questioning glance, wondering what he got wrong, he stated, I have a daughter, Naruko, not a son, before he began the hand signs. Only Kushina saw Naruto's eyes bug out in shock. Kushina looked her daughter to the speechless man in front of her and noticed the similarities: blonde hair, blue eyes, whisker marks on cheeks. Minato and Kushina both placed more of their chakra into their daughter before he summoned a toad that had the key to loosen the seal and ordered the toad to go to Jiraiya. Who are you? She stated weakly as her life began to leave her. Minato had done the hand seals but waited a moment to hear the strange man's answer. He walked over near them and whispered, I don't know how, but that bastard Madara sent me here. I thought I went back in time, but it's something else since I'm a girl here. I promise I'll protect your daughter with my life. Both of their eyes widened before she began to cry, why, you're our child. Naruto smiled at his mother. Yeah, I am 18-year-old Naruto Uzumaki. He finished with a chuckle. Minato looked at him with a proud grin. Well, I see that you turned out strong. I have to ask, did I ever explain to you why? Naruto held up his hand. You did. I was angry at first because of how I was treated by the village growing up, but I got over it. I strove to make you both proud, even if I never knew who you were. My dad, until 2.5 years ago, I always wanted to surpass the Yondaime Hokage. Kushina was crying even harder. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Naruto simply pulled her into a hug. I forgave you years ago. I'll make sure your daughter doesn't live that life. That's a promise of a lifetime. Minato nodded before he yelled out, Hack no Fuin Shiki. 8 trigrams divination sealing style. Before the Kyuubi was pulled into the seal, cursing the whole way, and Minato fell to the ground, his life slowly fading away. Kushina, who was barely conscious in Naruto's arms, cried out to her husband, and Naruto placed her next to his father. The barrier fell and the Sandame ordered the 2 Jounin to notify the village before he approached the group. He didn't hear what was said between the 3 shinobi, however he clearly saw they were trusted him, so he didn't attack the stranger. Minato, you fool, I could have done it in your place. Why did you erect the barrier? Why did you use such a sealing in the first place? Your own daughter. Minato grinned and tried to focus on the old man. You wouldn't have been strong enough, Gigi. I barely managed it. Plus, you know the Kyuubi can't be contained in anything but a person. The aged Hokage nodded with tears starting to come down. What would you like me to do, Minato? As a Jinchuriki of the demon, the villagers will not see her as a hero. I can only do so much here. Minato smiled weakly once more. Let Naruto-kun raise her. She should be with Fami. His eyes widened at the request before he turned to the newcomer, who had tears coming down his eyes, and he let out a sigh. I will see what I can do. My friend Minato died moments later with a smile on his face, his wife leaving soon after with one as well. Hiruzen Sarutobi bowed his head in respect before he turned to the newcomer. Family? Naruto turned to the man he always thought of as his grandfather before he nodded. He paused and thought before he stated, if the looks aren't obvious, I'm a Namikaze. I'm also a Jinchuriki too, so I know all too well what Naruko-chan will expect growing up. The man nodded in acknowledgement. He walked over to the crying baby before he stroked his chin. I wasn't aware that Minato-kun had any family still alive, so I assume you had an alias growing up? Naruto nodded before he sighed. I've gone by a few names, but I think in respect to Kushina-sen I use Uzumaki and adopt Naruko-chan so she has the same name. Hiruzen smiled at this. Yes, as a fellow Jinchuriki you would be the most suited to raising another. Also I will need you to attend a council meeting with me to go over the details with them all. I think that we should change one fact however. At Naruto's questioning glance he continued, no one knew about Kushina-chan being pregnant except Jiraiya-kun, my wife and I. You are both so strikingly similar you could claim she is actually your biological daughter. Naruto blinked before he started to chuckle. As you wish, Hokage-jiji. The man sent Minato's body a glare before he started to chuckle with the young man. We should return to the village now, Naruto. Bring Naruko and let us go. Naruto nodded before he walked over to his parents and pulled out a blank scroll and some ink. Quickly drawing up some seals he sealed them into it before walking over to Naruko. Pulling out another scroll he pulled out a blanket. With his kunai he cut a section out before resealing it, and then wrapping the baby up gently before walking off with the Hokage. Hiruzen Sarutobi couldn't help but smile at the way Naruto gazed at the young baby in his arms. He actually looked in awe at the little bundle, just as any father does the first time they see their child for the first time. The young man was completely fascinated by the girl. Every time she gurgled he would get a small smile on his face. Hiruzen also took time to look at Naruto closely. His resemblance to Minato was uncanny. They could have been brothers. In fact, he couldn't help but wonder if they were possibly brothers. The Jinchuriki used the Rasengan to break through the barrier, and that was one of Minato's prized jutsus. It can't be copied just by observation, you have to understand the mechanics behind it, so Minato must have taught him. But why was Kushina so surprised to see him? His eyes lowered to what he was wearing. His eyes widened when he caught the Uzumaki symbol on his t-shirt. Konoha used it on their uniforms from the Alliance during the Shodame's time as leader, but the aged leader was sure he had never seen Naruto in the village before. Possibly a coincidence, but Kushina was hugging him and crying on his shoulder. Was he somehow related to the Uzumaki clan as well? Perhaps that was the reason he wished to take up the name. His thoughts were shaken as they got closer to the village. It saddened the man's heart greatly to see his proud village in the state it was in. Gazing at Naruto again, he was surprised to see the genuine sadness in his eyes. Perhaps he was from the land of whirlpools after all. He looked old enough to have lived through that massacre. Letting out a sigh, he asked Naruto-kun, would you rather shunshin to the Hokage Tower? Naruto looked up in surprise at the question before he shook his head. I prefer to walk there. Besides, I'm unknown in the village. I might look like my cousin, but I'm not him. I would be seen as a threat. Now the situation has passed. Shikaku-san already tried to capture me before I arrived back there. He indicated the area behind them. Hiruzen chuckled. Ah yes, like all Naras he is very observant of his surrounding. No doubt he thought you might have been part of the attack. Very well then. As they walked through the village, many people looked at the Yondaime lookalike in awe, curiosity or fear, but when they saw the bundle in his arms it turned to hate and glares. I guess those Jounin you sent back have spread word about Naruko-chan. Hokage-jiji. Looking around he nodded. It seems they already are thinking of her as the demon itself. I don't know what would have happened if you had not arrived, Naruto-kun. The Umbu and I would only be able to watch her for so long, and due to the current state of the village we would have to increase higher missions to get the funds to get back on our feet. Naruto sighed before looking up at the sky. Like all Jinchuriki she will be hated. It varies depending on where they grow up. It could be as little as ignoring her existence to as bad as assassination attempts. I'll be there to help her, but still the parents will tell children to stay away from her more than likely. I hope some won't be so foolish and allow their children to play, but one can only hope. I don't want her to live a life like mine. Hiruzen looked saddened at hearing this, but he nodded, understanding it was likely true. They finally made it to the Hokage Tower, and Hiruzen led Naruto to his now once again office. He stated to the Umbu present that Minato had killed in his battle before asking them to gather the council for an emergency meeting. He then activated the sound barrier seals as well as a crib that was sealed on the side of the desk that Minato had installed before he asked the question he expected Naruto not to answer but asked nonetheless. How bad was it for you, Naruto-kun? Naruto walked over to the crib and placed Naruko inside of it before he closed his eyes and thought before he opened them and smiled over at the old man. It was rough. I was ignored in my early years, kicked out of the orphanage at 5 and lived on the streets for a year. During that time a villager saw my whisker marks and from that day on I was beaten almost daily, and my bija healed my injuries. After a year a kind old man that saw me for me and not the demon got me an apartment that he paid for with his own money. If he hadn't have watched out for me I might have turned out much different. He acknowledged me and showed me love. He stood and walked over to the window with sad look at the village below. He said what was hard was I never knew about my bijou. I only found out during an assassination attempt on my life when I was 12. Slowly I earned the acknowledgement of my people, but none of that matters now. They're all gone, he said sadly, not wanting to look the man in the eye. Hiruzen let out a sad sigh believing he had connected the dots. Once he found out Naruto was 18 he had gambled with the next statement. He stated, you're from Uzushio, aren't you, Naruto-kun? You have very potent chakra even for a Jinchuriki. Kushina was distraught when you introduced yourself. You used an Uzumaki jutsu to pin down the Jubi. You wear the Uzumaki symbol on your clothes and you wished to take the Uzumaki name. I have no doubt you are related to Minato, but you are an Uzumaki, aren't you? Naruto looked up with wide eyes and was about to reject the statement before the Jubi roared, Gaki, this is the perfect alibi, don't you dare say it's not true. 1. You are quite skilled with Fuinjutsu, as all Uzumaki are. 2. No one would question why your daughter was chosen for the ceiling. 3. You used an Uzumaki technique to pin down the Kyuubi. 4. Not even the Hyuga will question your dense chakra. 5. If my memories are correct, Yuzashiro was almost completely wiped out during the Third Great Shinobi War. The Gobi Jinchuriki took part in that massacre. There is no one around to refute your claims. Sighing, knowing the stupid wolf was right, he looked the Hokage in the eyes and said, Hi. I see you didn't earn the title of professor for nothing, Hokage GG. Getting a massive grin, Hiruzen clapped his hands together. This is perfect, Naruto-kun. It will only reinforce the idea that Naruko-chan is your daughter. Not only do you have similar names, and Uzumaki has potent chakra and longevity that makes them perfect to become Jinchuriki. A few moments later an Umbu-shun shined into the room. Hokage-sama. The council is waiting for you in the chambers. The Umbu paused when he saw Naruto and proceeded to stare at him. Naruto meanwhile would recognize that silver hair anyway and chuckled. Yes, I am related to Minato Namikaze. Kakashi gasped at what he just heard. Hiruzen chuckled before he stated, you can remove your mask, Kakashi-kun. Naruto-kun here will be joining the village. He is a survivor of the Uzumaki clan. Naruto, this is Minato's student Kakashi Hatake. I assume you stated your relation because Minato described his students to you. Kakashi did as ordered and removed his mask. The first thing he did was lift his hitai, revealing his Sharingan, thinking Naruto had some sort of elaborate henge, and gasped for the third time in a few minutes. Naruto chuckled again. Impressive chakra flow, isn't it, Kakashi-san? I am an Uzumaki after all. Hiruzen chuckled before he stated, as enjoyable as this discussion is, we can have it later. We have pressing matters to attend to now. Kakashi, put on your mask and inform the counselors we are on our way. Stay at the chamber though. You will want to know how Minato died. Kakashi's face fell at that statement. He had hoped the rumors were false before he nodded and placed his mask back on, and shined out of the room. Naruto went over to Naruko and saw her sound asleep still before he picked her up. She stirred slightly and he froze for a moment before sighing and sealing up the crib and following the Hokage, who had a hidden smile under his hat, he now donned once more. When they neared the council chambers they could hear the heated voices coming from the other side of the door. With a heavy sigh the Sandaime Hokage slammed the door open and strode into the room, causing instant silence. He went over to take the Hokage seat while Naruto set up the crib and quickly drew silencing around it before activating them. The room was watching the man curiously. They had yet to see his face, but 3 on the shinobi side recognized the cloak. As Naruto stood and turned around they all gasped at the similarity to their Yondaime Hokage minus the Sandaime, Danzo Shimura, Hayashi Hyuga and Fugaku Uchiha. Naruto rubbed the back of his head and gave a goofy smile. How you doing? Hiruzen cleared his throat, gaining everyone's attention before he stated, this is 18-year-old Naruto Uzumaki, survivor of the massacre at Yuzashio during the last war and cousin to our late Yondaime Hokage. Minato-kun told me himself who Naruto-kun was recently. I was unaware Yondaime-sama had any relatives still alive, Hokage-sama. Also that there was a survivor from that clan besides Kushina-san who got out before that event, Shibi Aburame stated in a monotone voice. Naruto suddenly thought that Shino was an overexcited child compared to this guy. The other counselors raised eyebrows at their leader's honorific to the new man. Gaki, tell them you were attacked by Iwani and that thought you were Konoha's yellow flash. If I may, Hokage GG. The aged Hokage glared at him with slight killing intent when a few of the shinobi heads chuckled. Naruto shrugged the ki off with the same smile on his face before he turned to Shibi. Years ago I was attacked during my travels near the Iwa border by a squad of Iwani. They thought I was related to the yellow flash of Konoha and wouldn't listen to me try and deny it. Because of my age they didn't think I was a strong opponent yet, so attacked me. Gathering his thoughts he continued, after I killed them I figured they were so adamant I was related to him for a reason. So after the war officially ended I snuck into Konoha and observed Minato, and couldn't help but be shocked at the resemblance. He detected me and went to attack but froze once he saw me. That was around a week ago. The room as a whole nodded, understanding how that mistake could be made. If he didn't have the whisker marks, had paler skin and was 10 years older he would be a clone of the Yondaime. Shikaku then raised his head and asked, can you prove your claims? Yondaime-sama knew you or trusted you? Naruto blinked at Shikaku and thought he was more troublesome than his son, but he merely held up both hands and created 2 Razengans in them, causing the room to gasp as a whole. Shikaku responded with, very well, I believe you, Uzumaki-san. Yondaime-sama would not have taught you one of his prized jutsu or used your daughter if he didn't believe you could be trusted. The room was silent for a moment before a pink-haired woman Naruto assumed to be Sakura's mother spoke. What happened to the Kyuubi, Hokage-sama? Hiruzen took out his pipe and lit it, knowing this could get ugly, before he stated calmly, I'm sure it has already reached your ears, Haruno-san, since Naruto-san and I saw the glares on the way to the tower, but Minato-kun traded his life to seal the beast into Naruko Uzumaki, Naruto-kun's daughter. The room suddenly went silent and watched Naruto carefully to see if he was angry at this happening, but were confused when he seemed fine. Uzumaki-san, I'm sorry for the loss of your daughter. But the demon must be a civilian council member began but didn't finish when there was suddenly a dense killer intent in the room. Even the Hokage was sweating under the pressure. Then suddenly it was gone when Naruto heard crying and he quickly appeared over to the crib and picked Naruko up. I'm sorry, Naruko-chan, I didn't mean to scare you, he cooed while holding her. A few moments later she calmed down, and Naruto placed her back in the crib. He turned around and sent a glare at the man who had spoken before. My daughter is not dead, she is right here, counselor. Know the difference between the demon and the container. Also, a bijou cannot be killed, weakened yes but not killed. If Naruko-chan here dies, the Jubi would be released to wreak havoc once more. She is keeping it safe from everyone. It was a gamble to tell such a lie. If Naruko dies, the Jubi would die with her thanks to the detailed seal, but no one present in the room was skilled enough in seals to be able to tell that fact. The statement would help keep Naruko safer with luck. How do we know the demon won't influence the girl? Looking over at the civilian who spoke, Naruto recognized him as one who always refused to serve him as a child. Glaring, he stated, you really have such little faith in Yandame-sama's abilities? Pausing for a moment, and inwardly laughing at the look on the man's face, the young Jinchuriki continued, the seal Yandame-sama used is forbidden for a reason, as its use is the cost of one's own life. However, it is very effective. The fox will not be able to communicate with Naruko-chan unless the seal is weakened or she is in a near-death situation. In this case, she will subconsciously open a link to it in order to save her life. Looking mainly at the civilians to make sure they were listening, he continued, it won't influence Naruko-chan in the most basic sense unless she is in a heightened state of distress when she summons forth its power. Even then it depends on Naruko-chan's will and chakra reserves to fend off the rage and bloodlust that she will feel while channeling its yuki. Taking a breath, he continued, this is the problem that most villages have with their Jinchuriki. They are stupid to attack, neglect or make the person who contains the beast believe they are indeed the beast itself. Since they will willingly give in to the rage and bloodlust whenever they channel the yuki, and the bijou will have a much stronger influence, making them likely to turn against their own allies when they use the yuki. When her chakra is strong enough, she will literally be able to suppress the feelings the yuki brings while able to utilize the extra power she'll have access to. All the civilian counselors paled, as they had all been thinking of finishing the late Yandame's work and killing the girl, or at the very least they all had thoughts of that, making the girl miserable. But they were basically just told anything like that would make the girl likely to become the beast they thought she already was. You seem to know a lot about the abilities of a Jinchuriki. Naruto-san, turning to Danzo, he let out a sigh before responding, of course I do. I'm an Uzumaki and a Jinchuriki too. Everyone's eyes widened, some in respect, some in curiosity, and some in fear. I see, it makes sense that a Jinchuriki should raise another one, so I won't question you raising your own daughter, but which one do you contain? Fugaku Uchiha asked with a frown. Naruto looked at him, and narrowed his eyes, thinking he shouldn't say anything. No, tell him, Gaki. Lying about me won't help. After a mumble, Naruto stated, I contain the Jubi, the 10-tailed wolf. Even the Sandame's eyes widened at that. There's a Jubi. How many more are there? Naruto waved his hand. None. The Jubi is the most powerful and the most secret of the tailed beasts, which is likely why none of you have heard of it before. Surely you saw the fear on Kyubi's features and speech when I channeled the Jubi's Yuki Hokage Jiji. How do we know you are telling the truth of which beast you contain? Hayashi Hyuga asked stoically. Tell the Yamanaka to enter your mind, Gaki. Will you harm him? I couldn't even if I wanted to. Gaki. Naruto turned to Inoichi. Yamanaka-san, care to confirm what I stated? How did you know who I am? Thinking quickly, Naruto replied, I figured out you were a member of the Ino Shikacho trio Minato spoke highly of and was made famous in the last war. When Nara-san there binded me with his shadow, said shadow user, muttered out troublesome. Inoichi turned to the Hokage, who nodded before he walked over to Naruto and placed his right hand on his forehead. The room was silent, waiting for confirmation. Inoichi appeared in a dark forest and was confused at why Naruto would have such a mindscape, as most people had tunnel systems in their minds that led to various memories. He began to observe the area and noticed that the trees contained glowing fruit, and assumed them to be the memories. He heard a growl and a boom. Turning in the direction, he saw a massive wolf staring at him with 10 tails swishing behind before he paled and ended the jutsu. Oh Kami, Uzumaki-san, why isn't that thing in a cage? Naruto again thought quickly before he decided to tell another half-truth part of the seal. The Uzumaki were famous for Fuinjutsu after all. It gives him more freedom within my mindscape, but he has less influence over me when I channel his Yuki. Makes our existence together more bearable. Well, Inoichi-san, was it a 10-tailed wolf? The Sandame asked of the Mindjutsu user. After the man's nod, he nodded. He thought of what Naruto told him before about the treatment of Jinchuriki. Giving the council a harsh glare, he stated, very well, as of this moment the knowledge of Naruto-kun's Jinchuriki status is an SS rank secret with the immediate penalty of death. Only Naruto-kun or I may reveal it to anyone else who is not aware. Is this understood? Again the civilians paled drastically. They wouldn't even be able to speak of the demon in front of them or face death. A few moments later the room was filled with high before he turned to Naruto. Is there anything you wish to add, Naruto-san? Why isn't Naruko-chan included in that law, Hokage Jiji? Naruto questioned with his eyebrows raised. The Sandame let out a sad sigh before replying, it's too late for that, Naruto-kun. The village is already aware of the sealing of the Jubi, as you saw walking to here with me. The best I can do is make a law to prevent the village from speaking of her tenant to the younger generations and change a fact of tonight so the children won't figure it out themselves. Minato-kun killed the Jubi by using a self-sacrificing jutsu. Naruto let out a sigh but nodded while looking at the civilians. I request there be a law put in place that prevents stores and restaurants from overcharging or refusing service just because of her Jinchuriki status. If they have a valid reason I believe is fair, I will not argue against it, but not just for that reason alone. Also there will be those that will try to attack Naruko-chan at some point regardless of what I've stated, since it isn't common knowledge or people just will refuse to believe. She is anything but the demon itself. I don't want a law in place, but I request permission to defend my daughter. I will not kill anyone who tries, but I will hospitalize them as a warning to others. I grew up a Jinchuriki, so I am full aware of how cruel people can be. Hiruzen sighed before he stated, does anyone have a problem with these two requests? A few of the civilians looked like they wanted to protest, but they held their tongues. When no answer came, he nodded before he stated, very well, then all three shall become laws. First, no one is to speak of the Kyuubi's fate to the younger generation. 2. Service cannot be denied for Naruko-chan's status alone, and 3. Naruto-kun has permission to defend his daughter even against shinobi, but is forbidden from killing offenders. I shall announce the laws tomorrow to the populace. Now for the last order of business. Naruto-kun, what rank ninja are you? I have my suspicions after seeing you overpower the Kyuubi, but I wish to hear what you have to say. Naruto's eyes widened at that while the rest of the room looked at him in shock. He forgot he wasn't a ninja in the village right now. He thought about it, and couldn't actually think of how strong he was. He had always been a genin, but he could beat multiple Kage-level shinobi, Akatsuki, and that was only using Sage mode. Since he mastered the Kyuubi and learned quite a number of high-level jutsu, what level did that put him at? Looking at the Hokage after some thought, he stated, well, I never got beyond genin in my village, but I'd say just from my knowledge of jutsu, chakra reserves and experience in battle, I am easily Kage level. Thanks to my abnormally high chakra reserves, I can use all 5 chakra elements, although my true affinities are fire and wind. The other 3 elements need way more chakra than they would normally need to work, but even my strongest attacks dent my reserves enough to bother me. The eyes in the room bugged out at the boy's simple answer, and Hiruzen began to laugh, and the ninja side nodded their heads after processing the information. From the sound of what they had been told so far, the Jinchuriki's upbringing was not pleasant, so it makes sense he wasn't promoted above genin. Also, he would have been around 10 when the massacre happened. To hear that he could use all 5 elements shocked everyone present. All eyes turned to him before he stated, Naruto-kun, you had the Kyuubi scared and stuttering. You broke through at S-rank barrier jutsu with 1 attack, and you are a Jinchuriki of the most powerful Bijuu, and you state that you can use all 5 elements. Possibly even possess a Kekai Genkai that hasn't activated if you are anything like other Jinchuriki. I think it's easy to say you are Kage level, but as I am the Hokage, I'll be giving you the rank of Elite Jonin. Is that acceptable? He asked while gazing around the room that occupants were still looking at Naruto in shock. Hayashi had his Byakugan and Fugaku had his Sharingan activated, and both had their mouths open at the sheer amount of chakra they were seeing on the man. Sum was giving him a seductive gaze as she was seeing him as the ultimate alpha male. The fact he contained a hound demon that happened to be the strongest just added to it. The civilians were looking at him in fear, knowing he could kill them with ease if he wanted. Shikaku, Inoichi and Chuzo were sweating, realizing if Naruto had seen them as a threat when they caught him, he could have wiped them out with ease. Danzo, Hamura and Koharu were all inwardly seething, realizing the young man would not be easily manipulated or controlled by them. With his strength in relation to Minato, he could very well be the next Hokage sometime in the future. When the Sandame heard no objection, he stated, very well then, officially welcome to the village Uzumaki Naruto. As you are Minato-kun's cousin, I believe that you should receive his possessions, since his will was set up to whatever children he may have one day, and unfortunately he doesn't have an heir. No one disagreed with the Hokage's statement before he nodded and stated, this meeting is adjourned. We will make an announcement to the village in the morning. Umbu notified the populace of the summoning and to gather at the Hokage Tower at 0800 hours. Naruto-kun, could you come with me to my office? The counselors began to file out of the room after the dismissal, all still eyeing Naruto. A few of the civilians chanced to glare at the baby behind him, but when Naruto looked at them they paled and walked quickly out of the room. Well, Naruto-kun, I don't think you'll have to worry about Naruko-chan too much. I have no doubt that the civilian counselors will spread the word about your power at the very least, and many will be too scared of you to treat the girl too harshly in your presence, Hiruzen stated as Naruto picked Naruto up and resealed the crib. Scratching the back of his head, Naruto sighed as they began to walk off. Not exactly what I wanted, Hokage Gigi, but it will help though. Only the incredibly stupid people will do anything, even when I'm nearby now. Most likely shinobi who won't believe how strong a young shinobi like me could be. Walking into this office, he dismissed his Umbu before he took his seat, waiting for Naruto to place Naruko back into her crib before he stated, must you keep calling me Gigi? Naruto-kun. Naruto nodded seriously, and the old man sighed before he opened the drawer and tossed him 2 scrolls. That's your Jounin vest and Hitai in the white scroll. The second one is what Minato-kun set up for Naruko-chan once she was reached Chunin. It has the instructions to his property, and how to get in, plus this can be like a test of sorts. It has a... Hiruzen's eyes widened when Naruto merely bit his thumb and wiped it on the seal. It glowed for a moment before vanishing. Well, that answers the question on whether you really are related to Minato-kun. Naruto just put on a big grin before reading the contents. He let out a low whistle, and at the Sandame's inquisitive gaze he stated, my cousin was paranoid. Perimeter seals. Blood seals on the doors and windows. There seems to be some altered blood seal on the gate, and if this is right, there's even an impressive seal that I believe keeps up a dome barrier surrounding the property like the one he used to keep you out while he faced Kyuubi. It looks like it requires chakra regularly to maintain. According to the date, it would fail in 3 days and the blood seals would fade in 3 years with the amount of chakra put in them. Hiruzen sighed. In other words, the place would have been ransacked or destroyed as soon as they fell. Since Minato kept all his money in the house, Naruto-chan would have been left with nothing. Naruto nodded, realizing that must be why he never heard of it back in his time. Very well, Naruto-kun, I assume you can get there on your own? Hi Hokage Gigi. Naruto was about to get up to leave when he said, there isn't anyone you know that can be trusted to watch out for Naruto-chan if you require me to go out on missions, is there? I assume Kakashi-san can't since he's an umbu. Hiruzen nodded with a sigh. Actually, it's village procedure to put new villagers or shinobi that come to Konoha on probation. You won't be able to leave the village for 6 months to prove your loyalty to the village. However, I will have a look on who might be suitable and present them to you after the announcement tomorrow, since you'll want to get to know them yourself before leaving your daughter with them, I'm sure. Agreeing, Naruto nodded before leaving the room with Naruto, and Hiruzen. Sarutobi finally allowed his shinobi mask to fall. It wasn't only Minato, Kushina and the countless shinobi that was lost tonight. His wife had been with the former two during the birth, so she was now gone as well. The proclaimed god of shinobi allowed the tears to fall as he grieved for all those that were lost that night. Meanwhile, Naruto had decided not to walk through the village without the Hokage, so shined directly to the outside of the house. It was in the shinobi district of the village that Naruto was pleased about, since it meant people wouldn't be as hard on Naruto there. Walking up to the gate, he had a close look at the seal. It was more detailed than an ordinary blood seal. It seemed to be tied into something that Naruto assumed was the barrier, and couldn't help but think how ingenious it was. He tried to touch an area around the seal and found that the barrier was indeed there. It was ingenious. It prevented anyone from getting access to the property unless they had the former Yandame's blood. Biting into his thumb, he wiped it over the seal and it glowed before there was a slight shimmer all over the gate, and it swung open. As soon the gate shut, there was another shimmer indicating the barrier going back in place over the gate. Naruto then walked to the 2-story house, gazing at the size of the area around it, and realized he could set up a decent training area on the far side of the house. He once more swiped his hand on the seal on the door. Once it glowed and vanished, he stepped inside. He smiled lightly at the simple light colors and designs of the house. Walking through the entrance hallway, he saw stairs straight ahead, and to his left a simple living area with a few pale blue couches. Past that was the kitchen, and after noting that it was stocked full of basically every food but instant ramen, he sighed, realizing he would need to learn to cook at least for Naruto's sake. He made note of the cupboard full of baby formula and couldn't help but think his parents had gone overboard, but realizing how much he ordinarily eats, that it might be necessary. Walking back, he didn't go up the stairs yet and looked to find a laundry. The door opposite had another seal. Unlocking it, he noted that it didn't vanish, but the door opened with stairs heading down. Following them, he found an impressive stock of various alcohol, as well as scrolls lined up against the opposite wall. Why his parents put the alcohol in the same high-security room as the scrolls, Naruto wasn't quite sure. But Naruto had developed a liking to it after some of his senseis had pressured him into it during his 2-year training. Oddly enough, he could still get drunk, it just took much more than a normal person. B said it was because the bijou feel the effects they do. He told the story of the drunken rantings of Hachibi. Well, from what B could actually remember. Then he went upstairs to find 4 rooms. One was set up to obviously be Naruto's room when she was older. A spare room, the master bedroom with a cot next to the king-size bed. The last room was something that made Naruto pale and look at Naruto in shock as comprehension dawned on him. Flashback. Tsunade walked into the giant turtle that housed Killer Bee and Naruto. Looking up, the young Jinchuriki smiled. Bachan, what are you doing here? She scowled at the nickname that was given to her before she smiled evilly at the blonde Jinchuriki. I'm here to teach you one of the most important skills anyone should have. Gaki. Naruto looked up in surprise. Really, Bachan? What are you gonna teach me? It was then that he heard crying and his nose twitched, and he looked around in confusion. He sniffed the air and found it was coming from Tsunade's direction. Frowning, he said, Bachan, you smell bad, and who's that with the crying baby? The woman glared at him for a moment before the evil grin came back again. Oh, it's not me, that smell is coming from Naruto-kun. It's her. She indicated the baby before her smile widened. I'm going to teach you how to care for a baby for the next few weeks, and it looks like lesson 1 is changing her diaper. W equals what? Why do I have to learn that? Naruto demanded, eyeing the baby like it was her fault. Tsunade began to laugh before she stated, this is your punishment for trying to flee here 5 times. Now come here so I can show you. Naruto started to back away slowly. Get here now, Gaki. Naruto took off with Tsunade after him. 5 minutes later, Tsunade was dragging a kicking and screaming Naruto back to the baby while she was chuckling darkly, and the attendant, with the baby, looked on in worry. Flashback end. Naruto suddenly realized that he would have to change, feed and bath Naruto. He looked down at her sleeping face and flinched when her face twitched. As if she had sensed his fear, she opened her eyes slowly and looked up at him. He swallowed thickly when her face seemed to scrunch up for a moment before she began to cry. A familiar smell filled the air and he let out a sigh. Placing her on the table, he panicked for a moment before he made 2 Kagabushin, ordering one to go make up some formula, and the second to pass him what he needed. A few minutes later, Naruto lay quietly looking around in wonder in a fresh diaper and an orange top. The first Kagabushin returned to see Naruto was thanking Bachan like some kind of god. Boss, I've got the formula here. Naruto turned and nodded before taking it, and ordering it to dismiss itself. He checked the memory to make sure it was done right before picking Naruko up and putting her on his lap and feeding her. Naruto couldn't help but look at her curiously. The Jubi must already be strengthening her muscles because she was trying to hold onto the bottle herself. It could also be because of the fact she's got Uzumaki blood. They are renowned for their longevity and large chakra reserves that could be playing its part as well. Sighing, Naruto realized that anyone would see this as strange, especially those at the orphanage. He vaguely wondered if they actually fed him in those first few weeks. They probably didn't, hoping that the boy would die of starvation, but the Jubi would have kept him alive. Naruko ended up finishing the entire bottle and Naruto blinked before taking it away and burping her. She seemed content then, and Naruto let out a sigh before heading to the master bedroom, placing her in the cot, and looking down at her. Well, it looks like life's gotten a lot more interesting, huh, Naruko-chan? He couldn't help but chuckle at the concept of raising your younger self that is actually the opposite gender. With a deep sigh, knowing it was unlikely he could ever get back to his own world, and the fact he witnessed his parents die a few hours before he let the tears fall silently. He had been able to hold his mother in the flesh. His father had praised his strength, something he would be internally grateful for, at least that chance. I promise I'll be the best parent I can be, Naruko-chan. The parent I always wished I had growing up. He created 2 Kage Bunshins to grab some formula or diapers if the need arises before he lay down on the bed and went into an alert sleep. When Naruto was awoken 3 hours later when he heard the crying of Naruko, he was surprised to find that it hadn't been all a dream. He really was stuck back in time with the younger version of himself being a girl, or his daughter, as he had agreed to. Opening his eyes, he saw his Kage Bunshins race out of the room, and he got out of bed and looked down into the cot to see Naruko had stopped crying when he had come into view, and was watching him. With a sniff, not smelling anything, and a sigh, he stated, "You're not going to make this easy, are you, Naruko-chan?" The first clone ran back into the room holding basically half of the infant room, as Naruto had dubbed it. He called out frantically, "Boss, I've got everything. What do you need?" He blinked at the clone curiously before stating, "Surely you could have just sniffed, and realized she doesn't need to be changed. I think she just wants attention." The clone smiled sheepishly and was about to walk back out of the room when Naruko began to cry and a familiar scent filled the air. Naruto's eyebrows twitched, and he looked down at the infant who had stopped crying when the attention was back on her, and was looking back up innocently. What? Why, you did that on purpose, didn't you, Naruko-chan?" Naruto exclaimed, pointing an accusatory finger at the newborn Jinchuriki. As he finished changing the girl's diaper, the second clone came running and got the formula. "Boss," with a nod from Naruto, he stated, "Good work, mission complete. Dismiss yourselves." Both clones saluted before doing so, and after checking that it was done correctly, he fed Naruko, who finished the entire bottle again. After she was burped and put back in the cot, she went straight to sleep. Naruto created 3 more Kage Bunshins. "Alright, 2 of you will do the usual. The third is to dismiss when she awakens, so I know to come back up." One of the clones exclaimed, "Where will you be, boss?" He waved his hand, dismissively recharged the barrier seal. "Key myself to the perimeter seal and to see how much Rio is in the house. 2 hours sleep is plenty, and now my head's on straight. I realize I haven't eaten since I got here. When she wakes up again, I'll get another few hours before heading down for the village announcement." The clone saluted and Naruto opened up the scroll his father left Naruko. He read that the money was kept in a scroll in the room with the scrolls and alcohol, so he headed down to the basement first. This time he looked at the seal on the door more thoroughly, and was surprised that the seal seemed to not just be a blood seal. According to the notes left in the scroll, it had enough chakra to last 15 years roughly. He furrowed his brows in confusion. If that was the case, then why had he never heard of the room in his time? Did the seal malfunction? Did someone manage to break through it? Then he noticed the last part of the seal and his eyes widened considerably. A genjutsu tied into the blood seal. Did that mean only one with Namake's blood could even see the door? Naruto made a mental note to get someone to see if his theory was correct before he opened the door and headed downstairs. He flicked through some of them curiously, noting many of them were techniques that Kakashi taught him. There was nothing on the Rasengan or Hiraishin, but since he had completed the Rasengan, and he had speed close to the Hiraishin when he channeled his Biju's Yuki or Sage mode, and with shadow clones he could create the same effect as his father's famous jutsu. Eventually he found a large scroll and channeling chakra into it, there was a large pop and burst of smoke. When it cleared, Naruto's eyes widened in shock. The amount of Rio in front of him would put the Hyuga to shame. He sealed a decent proportion into a separate scroll and put some into his Gamachan wallet before sealing the rest back into the large scroll and putting it back on the rack. Looking around once more, not noticing anything significant for the moment, he left to recharge the barrier wards. Naruto followed the instructions on the scroll to the southwest side of the property, and after looking around in confusion, not seeing the seal, he absently began to run his hand along the barrier. Naruto's eyes widened when he felt what he could only describe as a tiny gap in the barrier, only large enough after he ran his hand over it again for a palm. Doing so, he put his hand through and channeled chakra into the area. A large elaborate design appeared on the wall, and looking at it he was surprised the perimeter seal was integrated into it, as well as a blood seal that would prevent anyone from stealing the property if they got in. Another clever part of it was the way his father had somehow made the seal permanently invisible to the naked eye. He briefly wondered if a Byakugan or Sharingan could see it. Naruto assumed it was the ink he used that somehow blended to the color of the surface it is used on. That meant that after the barrier ran out of chakra, finding the seal itself would have proved difficult if not impossible for anyone searching for it, since it only accepts chakra at the exact point he touched from the design. He could truly understand how his parents had been seal masters from the design. He couldn't help but smirk at the efficient yet simplicity of it. No wonder the Uzumaki were wiped out during the last war. If they could design such an effective barrier seal, what's to stop them from making one to attack? An army of Hiraishin users made Naruto wonder why so few ninja used fuinjutsu other than simple sealing scrolls or explosive tags. Naruto removed his hand and cut his palm before placing it back and began to channel chakra steadily into it, and the seal began to glow brightly. Naruto gazed around and noticed the barrier had become visible, and as he begun to channel more and more chakra, he saw the barrier went from a wavy-like structure to solid. Guess it was closer to failing than the notes, said he thought before an idea came to him. With a cheeky grin, he wanted to test it out after putting so much chakra into it, and charging a Rasengan, and ramming his palm out into the barrier. The first thing Naruto immediately noticed was the barrier was far more advanced than the one he broke through earlier that night. This barrier seemed to channel more chakra to the point of the attack to add extra protection, so his Rasengan didn't even crack it. Naruto was sure even Kakashi's fully charged Raikiri wouldn't even dent it with his potent chakra fueling the barrier. With that done, he decided to get something to eat. Looking in the fridge, he let out a loud sigh, realizing he wouldn't be able to make something simple like instant ramen, but steeled himself. He made a quick beef sandwich. With a sigh, he decided to get a babysitter that could cook as well. In return, he would pay them, and whoever it is can eat here whenever they want as compensation. As soon as he finished it, he got the memories of the Kage Bunshin and sighed before making Naruko some formula and going up. Once she was fed, he lay down to get another few hours before the announcement. A little before 7, Naruto awoke once more to Naruko's cries. She didn't need to be changed this time, but after she was fed, he also gave her a bath. Thanks to Jubi, he was able to start off straight with a tub that the infant seemed extremely curious of the water. He then went to shower himself, got changed in his Umbu-style pants and putting on his Konoha headband and Jounin flak jacket over a black long-sleeved shirt before he took her downstairs. He frowned when he looked in the mirror. He remembered that Niji Kurenai didn't wear the flak jacket, but he relented since he had never got past Genin, and the jacket still held the Uzumaki clan on its back. Naruto wanted to head by the Hokage's office early, knowing that he and Naruko would be needed for the announcement. After storing some spare nappies, wipes and a few bottles of formula just in case, he left the house with Naruko strapped in a harness on his chest. Even though he knew he could shunshin directly to the tower, he decided to walk amongst the villagers. Just like the night before, there were people openly staring at him with various emotions and a few sent glares to Naruko once they noticed her. He ignored them since there would be no point doing anything to them until after the announcement. Naruto reached the Hokage's office and entered, ignoring the secretary's protests, and called out, "Hey Hokage-jiji." The man's eyebrow twitched in annoyance but responded, "Good morning, Naruto-kun. I was about to send out someone to get you." He waved out the secretary who had followed Naruto into the room. Scratching the back of his head with his trademark grin, he shrugged as an answer, "Figured you'd want me and Naruko-chan to be there. I am curious though, are you going to reveal me as Minato's cousin?" The Hokage let out a sigh. "Well, your resemblance is uncanny, but I had a meeting with the council before. If a picture of you gets sent to say IWA, it could cause problems in the future. It would be worse if it was revealed that you are actually related to Minato-kun. However, we have decided that you will have a fight with one of our top shinobi in front of the public to not only show your skill and power, but prove to the shinobi forces that you deserve your rank. This should hopefully cause word to travel to all villages, and with any luck no one will dare attack us just because of your similar appearance to Minato-kun, since you would be seen as a threat." Naruto nodded in understanding. "So who have you chosen for me to humiliate in public, and when will this battle happen, Hokage-jiji?" The tick mark reappeared on Hiruzen's head and he growled, "Will you stop calling me that?" Naruto looked affronted. "What? Why would I do that?" The Sandaime Hokage grumbled under his breath. "My former student Jiraiya-kun will return sometime within a week since I sent word of Minato-kun's death and your arrival. He will test you personally." Looking surprised, Naruto exclaimed, "So I have to take on Jiraiya of the Sannin, and the one who taught my cousin?" After the Hokage's nod, his trademark grin returned and he laughed. "This will be fun. What will be the rules?" The Hokage waved his hand dismissively. "Hasn't been decided." An Umbu-shun shined into the room and bowed. "Hokage-sama, the village has gathered and is awaiting your arrival." Standing, the aging Hokage donned his hat before signaling the Umbu to leave. "Shall we, Naruto-kun?" Walking onto the platform over the large gathered crowd where the council was already gathered around a podium, Naruto stood next to Tsum after she waved him over while the Sandaime took to the podium itself. Citizens of Konohagakure, all talking ceased completely when their leader began to talk. "Last night, a terrible event occurred. The Kyuubi attacked us and we lost our beloved Yondaime Hokage from the attack." Murmuring, angry outbursts, and many let their heads hang at the confirmation of their former leader's death broke out. As I'm sure many of you are aware by now, the beast was not killed but sealed away at the cost of the Yondaime's life. Now the talking got louder and the standing Hokage had to raise his hand for silence, which was soon granted. However, there is only one method of sealing a beast as powerful as the Kyuubi. That is sealing it into a newborn baby. More murmuring broke out and one brave civilian shouted at them the demon should die while it's weakened, which resulted in a wave of approval throughout the crowd. Before the Hokage could silence them, a massive wave of killing intent was felt throughout the area for a few moments before it vanished. Everyone was looking around in fear. Naruto stepped up and the Hokage let out a sigh but didn't try to stop him, partially because he wasn't even sure that he could, even if he was in his prime. Naruto bellowed out, "You wish to release the Jubi?" Confused looks came from all over the crowd and Naruto decided to tell the same lie as he did the night before with the council. "If my daughter dies, then the Jubi will be released to finish what it started last night. She is the only thing in the way of the Jubi attacking you all." Murmuring broke out again, and after a few minutes another civilian shouted out, "Then the demon should be sent far away from here." Another wave of approval, and Naruto smirked slightly before he responded, "Send her away so that she could potentially die and release the Jubi that would likely return to finish what it started. Or someone from another village accepts her and trains her to hate this village, then she could use the Jubi's power to help destroy it." No one had any reply to that statement, and angry mutters were heard all around before the Sandaime began talking again after glaring at Naruto. "Naruto-kun here is of the Uzumaki clan that were famous for their fuinjutsu. Heed his warnings." One angry man then screamed out, "Then we should mold the demon to be the village's secret weapon." Danzo got a small smirk on his face at the outburst before Naruto let out a loud groan and began hitting his head on the podium that the Hokage still stood upon, causing everyone to look at him oddly before he responded, "Tell me, do you know what a sealing scroll is?" The man nodded gruffly. "And if I were to seal anything into that scroll, does the scroll take on any of the properties of the item sealed within?" Once he received the shake of the man's head. "So how can you call my daughter a demon, when it's merely sealed into her? I should kill you for suggesting killing my only daughter. Also you should all be ashamed for dishonoring Yondaime-sama's abilities by suggesting he failed to do the sealing correctly." Many in the crowd went from angry to confused to afraid and pale, with many holding guilty expressions by the end of Naruto's speech. Naruto was happy to note many of them were involved in some of beatings when he was younger. The Sandaime let out an annoyed sigh before he stated, "To prevent any unpleasant situations from occurring in the future, the council and I have agreed upon the following 3 laws pertaining to Naruto Uzumaki. The first is that her status as Jinchuriki is now a secret of the village, and anyone mentioning it to anyone not aware of it except for Naruto-kun, Naruko-chan and I will be executed without exception. This includes any new citizens that choose to join the village at a later date. Will have detailed investigations on who told them, and the culprit will be dealt with quickly. Telling your children, any child under the age of 2 who is aware of the truth in the future, parents will be executed for breaking said law. Officially in the records it will be stated the Jubi was killed when your Yondaime Hokage used a self-sacrificing jutsu." Many in the crowd paled, especially many of the women, and those that spoke out. A few looked quite angry at this turn in events. The second law is that Naruto-kun here is hereby allowed to defend himself and his daughter from physically and psychological situations by any means necessary, but is forbidden from killing the offenders. Naruto smiled sadistically at the first man that yelled for his daughter's head, and he passed Naruto over to Tsum, who blinked in confusion, while the same angry man from before got back his rage and roared, why should he be allowed to protect the demon when he didn't get to finish?" as Naruto had appeared in front of him and punched him in the gut, causing the man to cough up blood. "The next person who calls my daughter a demon within my earshot, and I warn you, I have very good hearing, will end up in hospital. I just explained my daughter is not the Jubi, but if you insist on calling her that in my presence, I'll show you just how demonic someone can be. I am a shinobi after all." Then he smiled in a very sadistic way with a hint of killing intent before he returned to his spot next to Tsum, and he thanked her with a kiss on her cheek that caused the mother of 2 to blush and took back his daughter. A purple-haired 12-year-old got an equally sadistic grin on her face for a moment, causing every near her to back away after recognizing who she was, except for one girl with long black hair and red eyes with spirals. Naruto had awoken when she was taken back by Naruto, and she looked around at all the people curiously, before she focused on the face she remembers most and blinked. Naruto now noticed she was awake, narrowed his eyes, "Don't you dare," suddenly remembering that she didn't fill her nappy an hour ago. Tsum, who had heard this, began to chuckle, and he sent her a playful glare before turning back to the infant he was now holding away from his body and having a staring contest with Hiruzen, who was about to state the next law. Turned to see what had the usually aggressive Tsum chuckling and began to as well. Naruto seemed destined to lose the staring contest as a familiar scent entered his nose and he cried out loudly, "No, how could you do this to me, Naruko-chan, and in public too?" With a resigned sigh he pulled out a scroll that with a small amount of chakra brought out a table with a few diapers and wipes, and he got to work ignoring those watching him. Many in the crowd were looking on in shock at the scene playing out in front of them. Most of them wives that were glaring at their husbands as they always refused to change the diapers, and yet the so-called demon's father was doing it for his daughter. Once he had finished putting on a new diaper, he pulled out a second scroll that brought out a bottle of baby formula. He put Naruto back into her harness when Naruto glared at the full diaper and got another sadistic grin on his face before he tossed it hard up into the air and began a set of hand signs ending in tiger, fire, release, raging phoenix. A massive ball 3 times the size of an average great fireball came out of the flame from Naruto's mouth. The ball then burst open and a massive fiery bird shot up until it hit the diaper, and then exploded into a massive fiery inferno 100 meters above the crowd. Many Uchiha and Hyuga were watching the attack in surprise, 1 for the amount of chakra and 2 how powerful the attack was. The young man didn't even look winded from the attack either. He then proceeded to seal the table away and began to feed Naruto. We win again, huh, Naruto-chan, Naruto stated happily, seemingly oblivious to the crowds gawking at him. He then decided to look around and looked at everyone's faces and scratched the back of his head with his free hand with his trademark grin on his face. He might have overdone that, huh? Even the Sandame looked on in surprise, considering the size and shape manipulation requires very good elemental manipulation, and for someone so young to do it was very impressive. Yes, maybe just a bit, Naruto-kun. Now for the final law: no person may refuse to sell, overcharge, or serve Naruto-kun or Naruto-chan purely for the fact that she is a Jinchuriki. If you have a valid reason that does not relate to her status, you have every right to ask them to leave, but you must state your reason, and Naruto-kun will notify me of any who do not follow this law, and the consequences will not please any of you. There was no angry outburst this time, as many were scared of the fact Naruto just did such a powerful attack on a diaper. Just what would he do if they did something to his daughter? Even the bravest shinobi that were thinking of trying their luck at getting the girl changed their minds when they saw the attack. Now for the final important bit of news. To prove Naruto-kun is worthy of the rank of elite jounin, I have asked my former student Jiraiya-kun to test him in public within the week. Once he arrives, a notice will be sent out to any who wish to witness the mock battle. For now, I hope you'll all welcome the Uzumakis to our village. Then he stepped off the podium. Naruto-kun, could you come to my office? With a nod he followed after the Hokage, and he picked up Shikaka Mutter troublesome. He did that attack without really trying. Just how powerful are you, Uzumaki? Once in the Hokage's office he sat down, and Naruto had decided to stay awake as she was looking around everywhere. Was it really necessary to use that attack, Naruto-kun? Naruto looked the Hokage in the eye and stated as seriously as he could it was. The old man let out a loud laugh at the answer before he stated, well, I can't blame you, I think the same way about paperwork. Anyway, I think you should be fine with the villagers. With the display of power you have frightened off many who would harm Naruto-chan, plus you have convinced many women she is not the demon with how gentle you were changing her diaper. That will go far in convincing their husbands as well. Naruto chuckled and asked, well, glad it turned out alright. By the way, have you got a list of people that could look after Naruto-chan in the future? With a sigh the old man nodded. There are a few, but unfortunately there are too few who could look at Naruto-chan at least neutrally so soon after the attack. Passing over a list to Naruto, these are their bios and brief backgrounds. Naruto took the file and began flicking through them. An Aburame, because of the bugs I assume? Hiruzen nodded before he placed that one on the desk. Rin Inuzuka, makes sense with their similar abilities to us, could help Naruto-chan out as she grows. Another nod before Hiruzen added, also Tsum has given birth to a son recently, so Naruto-chan would have someone to play with. Rin-chan also happens to be a former student of Minato-kun's. She came in this morning asking for basically a suicide mission. I think she's devastated by the loss of her father and mentor in Minato-kun's deaths last night. From what she said, Kakashi-kun won't talk to her either. Naruto blinked. Kiba? Then a memory that Kakashi told him popped up. Rin as in the teammate that transplanted Kakashi's Sharingan eye? Dismissing the thoughts, he went to the next one, and his eyes widened. Kurenai Yuhi, Chunin with impressive ability in Genjutsu. Orphan with no family in the village and has a tendency to help out those in need. She has recently taken it upon herself to help out another in that list who was abandoned when my traitorous student deserted the village. Naruto's eyes widened slightly. Orochimaru's student, did that mean who he thought it meant? Looking at the next name, his eyes nearly popped out of his head as the memory of his Chunin exam popped into his mind. That sadistic Kunoichi Anko Mitarashi. He marked her with a curse seal before he fled, and since you are an Uzumaki, I was hoping at the very least you could take a look at it at some point and with any luck see if it's possible to be removed. Both Jiraiya, Minato and I could only lower its effects on her. Naruto let out a sigh knowing he couldn't deny he wanted to figure out how to remove it. In a small part of his brain he blamed that curse mark for many problems in his own past. If he could remove it, could fix many problems. Did Orochimaru leave any notes on the seal's design? The aged Hokage shook his head sadly. Unfortunately, that was the problem that we faced. All that could be done is add another detailed seal to prevent its influencing effects. Naruto scratched the back of his head in thought. Jiraiya had taught him quite a bit in seals during their 3 years away from the village. Apparently some Kumo-nin had found one of Orochimaru's bases on a mission and had got some early notes on the design. He had told him in detail about it since Naruto wasn't sure if Sasuke was still infected with it at the time, and he might be able to neutralize its effects when they would inevitably face off. He went through the rest of the folder, a few Uchiha, a Hyuga. He quickly found that only shinobi were chosen, and only those that are orphans or from a major clan. With a sigh he stated, I'll have to take a look at it myself to know for sure, but I might be able to do something. Is it possible to call Rin-san, Anko-san and Kurenai-san here? Hokage-jiji. With a nod he flared some chakra and an umbu appeared. Bring me Rin Inuzuka, Anko Mitarashi and Kurenai Yuhi. The umbu bowed before Shun shining to complete his task. All three, Naruto-kun? Questioned Hokage-jiji. How do the villagers treat Anko-san since your student's desertion? Not expecting the question, he looked out sadly out the window. She is treated much like a Jinchuriki in many ways. The apartment building she stays at has been vandalized, hot water gets cut off often, few places serve her, and many villages and shinobi give her distrustful gazes or harsh comments wherever she goes. Naruto briefly wondered if that was the case why she never tried to help him, but quickly dismissed the idea since that would have only further ostracized her from the villagers, and lost any respect she had gained with the shinobi forces. A knock on the door brought him out of his musings before a young purple-haired girl entered, and Naruto was shocked at how young she looked. Anko couldn't have been older than him when he met her in his world. Hey old man, what did you want? I was about to go get some dango, so it better be some important mission or I'm going to Cass. Noticing Naruto, she got a sadistic grin that he blinked curiously at. Oh, my new favorite senpai. Say senpai, want to hang out today? I'll even let you buy me some dango since I'm in such a good mood right now, what you say? Before he could answer, Rin stormed into the office. About time you found me a miss. She saw Naruto and froze. Sure, he looked alike from a distance, but close up she couldn't help but see the resemblance to her dead sensei. Kurenai then came in red-faced during the silence before another could talk. Hokage-sama. That Umbu is a pervert. I want his name so I can. Anko-chan, what are you doing here? Anko got a big grin on her face. Naruto-senpai is going to buy me some dango, Kurenai-chan said. Girl turned a glare to him, and he held his hands up. Hey now, I asked all three of you to be here actually. That caught all three girls' attention, so he continued, as I'm an elite jounin now. Once my probation is over, I'm going to need someone to look after Naruto-chan here when I get called on missions. After going through your files, I think that you three will be the best for the job, he stated simply, getting wide looks from Rin and Anko while a curious one from Kurenai. Anko responded first, and me? If you've seen my file, why would you want me near your daughter? Naruto just grinned before he ruffled her hair, causing her to pout. Why wouldn't I? 1. You can relate to how my daughter will be treated by the villagers despite what was stated at the announcement. 2. You won't treat her in the same fashion, as you know how it feels personally. Plus it gives you a place to go whenever it gets too much. Hell, I got a spare bedroom if you want it. Her eyes got big and she stuttered out, "Ah, really?" He nodded and she gave him a genuine smile that instantly turned sadistic. If I take the job, will I get dango? He frowned at her. I'll think about it. Don't go putting those habits on Naruto-chan. She will love ramen, not dango. Anko looked completely insulted by that statement. Ramen has nothing on dango. How can you suggest such a thing? Narrowing his eyes at her, he charged a Rasengan and growled out, "Don't ever speak such blasphemy in my presence. How dare you insult the sacred ramen?" Anko took out a kunai and pointed it at him before looking at Naruto, who was looking at her with big curious eyes. "I will not allow you to taint such a pure innocent soul with such evil thoughts such as that, senpai. You are a threat to." "Okay, Naruto-san, why were we chosen?" Kurenai stated, interrupting their banter and causing Naruto Rasengan to fade out. Scratching the back of his head and smiling sheepishly, he stated, "Well, I think you'd be a good role model for my daughter. She'll need one in her life since I can get a little dramatic, as you just saw." Kurenai nodded in understanding. "Then I accept, Naruto-san." He then turned to Rin, who was staring at him in shock when she saw the Rasengan. "As for you, Rin-chan, I have no doubt in my mind that my cousin would have wanted you to watch out for his niece. He cherished his students greatly, and I would be honored if you would watch out for my daughter as she grows to become a great kunoichi one day. You can use the Rasengan." It was a statement, not a question, and he chuckled. "Yeah, learned it in a few days." Gave Minato a huge shock too, since it apparently took him years to develop. "Anyway, I'm staying at his house." Rin's eyes widened again in shock. "But it has a blood seal on it, and a barrier." Naruto tilted his head to the side in confusion. "Yeah, I know. I'm his cousin, so I share his blood. As for the barrier, it seems to like my chakra. It's much stronger now." Naruto had a smug grin on his face that turned to horror now he noticed Anko in front of him whispering to Naruto, "Don't worry, Naruto-chan. I'll make sure you're safe from that evil logic your daddy has." "Yes, I will." And oh, stay back, before he jumped back to the corner of the room eyeing Anko, who still had that sadistic grin on her face. "So you're really his cousin then? There's no other way you would be able to get through the seal." Sensei made sure of that before Rin bowed and stated, "I would be honored to watch Naruto-chan, Naruto-senpai." With a sigh after watching the interactions of the four people in his office, Hiruzen stated, "All right, since that's done with, you three will be required for missions on occasion, but we'll try to limit them until Naruto-kun's probation is over so you can get to know him and Naruto-chan. Anko-chan, will you be moving in with them?" Naruto's eyes widened in horror, as he suddenly remembered he did indeed promise that, and Anko's grin got wider before she chirped happily, "Yep, and senpai will take me out to dango to celebrate." He narrowed his eyes at her a moment before he said, "I will under one condition, Anko-chan." Her eyes widened at the change in honorific before she stated suspiciously, "Oh, what would that be, senpai?" His grin turned sadistic too. "You have to have a bowl of ramen with me first." Naruto then turned to the other two. "You guys are welcome to come as well. My treat as a thank you for accepting my request. I'll look at expanding the property too, since there's plenty of land, so you guys can stay over if you wish in a few years. I'll also play with the seal on the gate, and see if I can somehow key you guys into it, since it will be pointless if I go on a mission and you're trapped inside." Rin looked over to Naruto and stated, "Naruto-senpai, I'm already keyed into the gate, as is Kakashi-kun. We couldn't get into the house, but we can get into the gate though." Naruto stroked his chin thoughtfully. That meant he wouldn't need to do much to key them in if the simple method worked. Likely it would just require adding an extra seal with the person's blood and channeling chakra to integrate it into the rest of the seal, but he would look in the basement later to see if more information is there. Kurenai got a thoughtful look on her face before she stated, "Excuse me for asking, Naruto-san, but what of your daughter's mother?" Naruto blinked at the question before genuine sadness came over his face, remembering Kushina's death. Taking a sigh, he stated there was a complication during the birth, and it was too late to do anything to help her. She died a short time after the sealing. Hiruzen's eyes took on a sad tone as well. He was shocked when he arrived to see Kushina even alive after having the Jubi ripped out of her, yet she proved the Uzumaki longevity. Kurina's eyes widened before she bowed. I'm sorry for asking. Naruto merely waved his hand in understanding before he turned to looking over at the Sandaime. He stated, anything else, Hokage Gigi? The man narrowed his eyes before he spoke sternly. Yes, you three are not to reveal Naruto-kun or Naruto-chan's heritage to anyone outside of this room or his house. As Chunin, I hope you will understand what could happen if word got out that a relatives of the Yellow Flash exists in Konoha. All three bowed in understanding. Then Hiruzen turned to the man in front of him. Unless you know the secret to defeating every Kage's greatest enemy, paperwork, then that will be all, Naruto-kun. Alas, even after all these years it has eluded me. Naruto blinked at him in shock before he exclaimed, you can't be serious. You really can't think of a way to ease the amount you have to do? Shaking his head in disbelief, he muttered quietly to himself. Seems geniuses are overrated. Hiruzen Sarutobi was in shock. This young man in front of him claimed to have the answer to his problem ever since he became the Hokage. He knew he couldn't get his hopes up, but if it was possible, how could he not find out what he was? With the best puppy dog eyes he could muster, he stated, tell me please, Naruto-kun. Naruto couldn't believe the man he looked up to all his life was being serious. With a great sigh he formed a familiar seal and formed a Kage bunshin. Seriously, old man, I'm disappointed. You're even renowned as a professor. Memories are sent to the original so you would know everything they did. The pipe clattered to the floor as the old Hokage's jaw dropped in complete shock. All these years he could have not only avoided having to do the paperwork himself but could have done it faster. Come on guys, I think he needs some time alone, Naruto muttered while walking out of the room, the three girls following after. 3 days later, Naruto yawned as he got up and checked on Naruto. Oddly enough, Naruto was adjusting way too fast than what he was told by Tsunade. He wasn't completely sure if it was due to Kyuubi, or being an Uzumaki, or simply having a large reservoir of chakra at only 4 days old. But he wasn't too bothered by it. He finally took the time to go over the last few days. The meal with the 3 girls went well. Just as he remembered, the Ichirakas didn't turn cold eyes to Naruto or Anko for that matter, surprising her greatly. Naruto had wide eyes when a 5-year-old Ayame asked for his autograph. Tuchi had burst out laughing, saying she loved his giant fire bird jutsu he had performed. Anko begrudgingly stated that ramen wasn't as bad as she first thought, and blonde Jinchuriki simply ruffled her hair and gave her a knowing glance. Rin didn't have a dog partner since she focused on being a medic instead of a frontline fighter, so the need to learn her clan's partner jutsu wasn't required. All she knew was the basics like Shikyaku no Jutsu, for legs technique, and the Tsuga, passing Fang. Naruto explained that as the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, Naruto will possess abilities much like those of the Inuzuka clan, enhanced senses being the main similarity. When she channels its Yuki, she will possess traits very much like the Shikyaku no Jutsu, so her and her clan will be invaluable to help her control the animalistic nature it brings. Kurenai, he found, didn't have much under her belt other than her custom genjutsu. It was common for an orphan not to be taught elemental jutsu. Her sensei obviously didn't help either, and he couldn't help but think the same for the current Hokage and Tsunade. Asuma plus Ino, then his own team with Kakashi and Sakura. Since she didn't have a clan either, it would make sense. After some thought he realized that she was only a new Jounin when he graduated, so that's 12 years from now. He told all 3 that he would train them as payback for agreeing to help him, and Anko was ecstatic. Rin didn't think he could help until he hinted he knew a bit about how Tsunade might use her super strength, and that got her excited as much as the other 2. Anko had indeed moved in, and he had keyed both her and Kurenai into the gate. After swearing all 3 to secrecy, as this was also an SS rank secret, he explained that like his daughter, he too was a Jinchuriki. He went outside and channeled some of Jubi's chakra to show Rin what he meant earlier. His whiskers thickened, hair stood up sharper, eyes turned to silver with black slits and canines enlarged, giving him a much more animalistic look. His body bent to more like a 4-legged animal, and her eyes had widened considerably at the similarity to her clan's famed jutsu. Once Rin and Kurenai had left, Anko had launched herself at Naruto and cried her eyes out. Naruto had to admit she was a lot like himself in his youth, full of energy and just wanted to prove her worth and gain acceptance from the village and her peers. Letting her stay with him was apparently the best thing that had happened to her since Orochimaru taking her as his apprentice. But even Orochimaru always kept her at a distance, and she was closest to him. Her sadistic nature was all a mask, just like his own prankster one in his youth, to hide the pain of being completely alone, with her only parent figure that believed in her, not only abandoning her but leaving her with that curse mark on her neck. Naruto thought he had enough to hate that snake bastard for, but what he did to Anko angered him more than even what he did to Sasuke once she finished telling him her story. Even though he remembered an older Anko telling him what really happened, it still didn't change the facts to how she must feel right now. To be fair, he also began to explain his own childhood. He obviously altered certain facts so that Konoha and certain ninja or civilians weren't mentioned in the retelling of the story. Anko was staring at him in awe at the end of his tale, but she had an odd glint in her eye that unnerved Naruto a bit. He wasn't sure what it was, but it looked somewhat like how Sakura and Ino would look at Sasuke, and it sent warning bells ringing in his mind. Anko explained she loved dango since it was the one place that served her when she returned to the village. To everyone else she was the snake whore of Konoha. Naruto in turn explained why he loved ramen. With him being the demon brat, it being the only place that would ever serve him, so ramen became his comfort food throughout his youth. The first morning he had actually let his guard down as he slept and had awoken to find her cuddled into his side. His clones were laughing at the look on his face while he scowled darkly at them, making them both dispel out of fear of what he might do. When he shifted to try to get out of her hold, Anko had merely snuggled closer, making him sigh loudly. He was saved when Naruto took that moment to start crying, waking up the purple-haired girl. Anko took one look at Naruto Jr. before she got a massive grin and raced out of the room shouting, "Senpai's a pervert." It took him a promise of daily trips for Dango to get her to promise not to do it again or spread that around. He scowled afterwards, realizing he had been played by a 12-year-old girl, hoping she held her end of the bargain. The second day, Rin and Kurenai had come around after he sent Kaiga Bunshins to retrieve them. He had given the girls the option for resistance seals that he would increase as they got used to them. Minato had used them so he could adjust to the feeling of the harassment apparently, but Naruto couldn't help but see how useful they would be to increase people's speed. He had applied it to himself a short time later with the clone's help, since Minato stated it should be placed somewhere easily accessible like the stomach. Thanks to the Jubi seal on his gut, he used the clone to put it on his back. After demonstrating how it worked by turning it off and showing them his increased speed, they agreed to have it applied. He might have moved slower before disabling it, but they had no idea he had only applied it the day before. After all, he was meant to be a survivor of the famed Fuinjutsu clan. When he had asked them to lift their tops so he could apply it, Kurenai and Rin had blushed and sent him glares. Anko just grinned and threw her top off, revealing she wasn't wearing a bra, and caused Naruto to turn away and blush deeply. For a 12-year-old, the sadistic kunoichi had developed well. Naruto couldn't deny that fact. Naruto ended up explaining in great detail he didn't need them to actually take off their tops, and that he just needed to apply it to their stomach or lower back since it's the center of the body. The former two girls agreed to have it placed on their lower backs. Anko begrudgingly agreed to the back as well, since she was refusing to put her top back on until it was applied, and Naruto was refusing to put it on her stomach unless she covered herself up more. They spent the rest of the afternoon trying to get used to it. At the end of the day, he explained how to disable them, increase the resistance amount, and stated it wouldn't be a good idea to keep them on all the time. All three girls noticed the slight difference, and ease they could move after struggling all afternoon, but their speed didn't really increase much. Naruto explained he didn't put much resistance to them and they shouldn't expect a huge difference in one day. But it would be good to apply it just for everyday activities. Once used to them, increase the amount of chakra and start from scratch. Today he was awoken from the perimeter seal indicating someone had bypassed the barrier without touching it. That could only mean it was one of the girls, the Hokage or Kakashi. Naruto created a clone to guard Anko's door and another two to guard Naruto before heading downstairs cautiously. He created a clone in case he needed to substitute with it. Walking outside, he dodged the kunai coming at his head and caught the second going for his heart. A familiar laugh echoed around him and his eyes widened. "Oh ho, maybe the fight will be interesting, Gaki. I see you also got into Minato's property, which could mean you are related." However, Naruto felt a kunai to the back of his head and Jiraiya spoke in a deadly voice, "I'm still not convinced. You could have used Naruko-chan to get in here, and I was not aware of my student having any blood relatives still alive. Especially one that happens to be a Jinchuriki, if those markings on your cheek are anything to go by. What is your purpose?" Naruto chuckled before he stated, "You must be Jiraiya or the Sannin, the self-proclaimed super pervert and toad sage of Mount Maiboku. I take it you haven't spoken to the Hokage yet, but I can assure you I am related to Minato Namikaze." He charged a Rasengan before letting it dissipate. Jiraiya pushed the kunai further and stated, "How did you learn that? Minato's scrolls are well hidden, and I'm positive he didn't even leave any on how to do either of his prized jutsus. He wished for me to teach it to his daughter if anything happened to him before he got a chance to do so himself." Naruto let out a sigh. "I've got quite a story to tell you, Erosenin. One that will sound unbelievable, but even I'm having a hard time believing it. Unfortunately, I can't tell you the same story I told Hokage. Since you have so many spies out there, you could discover my claims are false. I'm not worried about Danzo since he wouldn't reveal it anyway. He would just try to find a way to use me to his ends, but I will deal with that if the time comes." Jiraiya frowned at the nickname, and it deepened at the end, but this boy shared a strikingly similar look to his recently deceased student. He knew the Rasengan, and something about him wanted to trust the boy. He didn't lower the kunai, however, and spoke very well. "Start talking." Naruto dispelled, shocking the man greatly before a voice behind stated, "Sure, but come inside. I need somewhere private to talk, and the basement will stop Anko-chan from walking in." Jiraiya's eyes widened. The basement was one of his student's greatest inventions. It held his money, scrolls, and most importantly alcohol. If this boy could see it and access it, then he could truly be related. There is also the fact he seems to be looking out for his old teammate's apprentice. Following the boy but with his guard up, they walked up to what looked just like a wall. Naruto then indicated to walk through and, narrowing his eyes, did so. "I knew the kid was a genius, but wow, this is impressive even for him." Naruto chuckled, following behind him. Once at the bottom, Naruto let out a sigh. "Alright, this is going to sound crazy. I am the son of Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki, and I'm 18 years old. My life started when I became the Kyuubi Jinchuriki many years ago." The legendary ninja looked at him like he was an idiot. Naruto then began to tell his tale. He kept it merely an overview since he wasn't sure if the perverted sage would try and alter things, but Naruto wanted to figure out if being another gender was the only difference. A man with a massive spy network was perfect for that. Just the basics, or his childhood up to the point he came back, relationship with the old hermit, and how his death got to him. By the end Jiraiya looked to be considering it. Let me get this straight, you are from a future where I was your father figure. You completed the Rasengan, perfected Sage Mode and mastered the Kyuubi, but you were caught by powerful foes who wished to extract the Kyuubi, but instead of dying you became the host to an even more powerful Bijou, the Jubi. You were sent back in time by some time-space jutsu you believe, but you are not a boy here, you are a girl, and you have decided to raise yourself so she doesn't go through what you went through. Naruto nodded smugly. Pretty much. I don't know much about what happened around until 12 years from now, so I don't want to go messing with the timeline. If the timeline will even remain the same. I mean, I'm a girl here, Yaro-sen, he finished hysterically. Jiraiya sat there stunned, just staring at the Yondaime lookalike in shock. Naruto sighed before he rubbed the back of his neck. Can you let me sign the contract? I need to summon Fukusaka-sensei and Shima-senpai so I don't go turn into a toad or anything when trying to enter Sage Mode. I'm not sure if having the Jubi now will affect my ability to do so. Jiraiya's eyes bugged out before he exclaimed incredulously, wait, you can summon both elders so easily? Naruto shrugged, yes sure, not that hard really. My wind release. Raisin Shuriken, now there's an attack that burns up the chakra, let me tell you. Jiraiya's sweat dropped. It took him time to channel the necessary chakra. If this kid could do so with that much ease, he must be a pure chakra powerhouse. But he wanted to see the boy's statement for himself. That and he couldn't master Sage Mode. He always got a big nose and it frustrated him greatly, which is why he stated he would only use it as a last resort. He summoned forth the toad that held the contract, but when Naruto unrolled it to sign his name his eyes widened. How, my name is already here? Jiraiya looked just as surprised before checking for himself, and there written next to his student was Naruto Uzumaki. I have a theory, but summon the elders and we'll see if it's true. Kuchiyos no Jutsu, summoning technique, Naruto stated before slamming his hands into the ground. Once the smoke cleared, two small toads stood looking at Naruto. Naruto, my boy, why did you summon us? Are you responsible for? Naruto stared at them wide-eyed, surprised they recognized him. Ma interrupted Pa when she gasped, Jiraiya-kun, how can this be? You died? Pa spun around and had wide eyes. Not only that, Ma, but he's younger too. So it wasn't just Mount Myaboka that was affected? Jiraiya's eyes were just as wide, since this has basically confirmed Naruto's story. He pointed at Naruto and stated, I think you followed the Gaki. He said he was forced back through time. If I was truly dead and he was your last summoner, you might have somehow followed him to this time. Time travel. Naruto-kun, what have you been doing, boy? Pa, that might explain why Bunta was so freaked out, and I haven't seen Kichi leaping around pranking anyone lately. Oh, if it is true, he might only be a tadpole now. Shima turned to narrow her eyes at Naruto, and he held up his hands. I didn't do anything. It was that red-eyed bastard that's to blame. I didn't plan this. I mean, I'm a girl here, Shima-senpai. Jiraiya perked up at the red-eyed bastard comment, but Pa narrowed his eyes at Naruto. If we are truly back in time, then you must not discuss future events, Naruto-kun. If you truly are a different gender, then this world could have many other changes. People you knew in your world may not be the same. Do not rely on what could be. I don't believe you went back in time, but through it. A parallel world, if you will. Jiraiya boy is right, however. At the very least, our memories must have come back with you. Likely only the toads you have personally summoned before will remember. Kichi and Tatsu were born around the time you were Naruto-kun, so they are or soon will be born. Of course they are. Not like you ever bothered to check on the young Pa. He turned his back to her. I do it when you're not around. No need to scare the children, Ma, she screeched out. What? It's you who would scare all the children. Don't even try. Hey Gramps, I summoned you for another reason. Ero-senin wants to see my Sage Mode, but I'm now the Jinchuriki for the Jubi, so I'm not sure if it'll work the first time. Both elders stopped to look at him in surprise. Wait, you actually somehow managed to get the other 8 Bijou to join with Kyuubi? Naruto grumbled at the insinuation. Well, it was that or join him, the elders nodded in understanding. Got that right, Gaki. The only one that complained was Ichibi, but he was the retarded part of me. Plus you beat him as a retarded, Gaki, yourself. I mean, being beaten by a mini retard must have hurt his ego quite a bit. Naruto growled, causing the toads and Sage to look at him oddly. Sorry. The wolf, unlike the fox, seems to be able to talk to me whenever he wants. His favorite game is Abuse the Gaki. Haha, I like the name. Abuse the Gaki. It is grumbling again about bastard fur balls, he stated. Alright, I'm going to try it now. Knock out the nature energy if it goes haywire, please. Jiraiya then shouted, wait, you're not going to use the elders? Naruto cracked an eye open. Huh? Oh yeah, I remember Gramps tried that once. I can't use that method cause of fur ball. Before he began to feel the natural energy, and drew it in. He felt it enter and combine with his own chakra before his eyes snapped open with yellow eyes and horizontal slits. Jiraiya gasped, you did that so quickly. And why don't you have any deformed features but your eyes? It's not fair, you cheated. Naruto just chuckled and scratched the back of his head. Pa smacked Jiraiya since he was about to keep ranting. Well, I guess that explains that then. Thanks guys, you don't have to stick around though. Apologize to Bunta and the others for me. Oh, I might summon you for the fight against Jiraiya. I've always wanted to fight him. All out, the elders nodded before disappearing in a poof of smoke. Jiraiya stopped himself from continuing his rant to think about it. He only really battled with the toads in Sage Mode and had never fought anyone else really. Suddenly he got a massive grin on his face too. If there was one thing he loved as much as spying on beautiful women, was a good sparring match. A fight with another sage. Oh, this will be great, Gaki. So tell me, did Tsunade and me? Naruto looked away sadly. She realized her feelings for you when you left on the mission. That killed you. She even bet that you would die hoping you would come back. Your death affected her as much as Dan and Nawaki. Jiraiya visibly deflated knowing he caused his secret love, well obvious love for the woman before he perked up. Oh ho, but I did manage to get her to admit she did like me, even if I was around to see it. Naruto just looked at the man incredulously before shaking his head. He had to admit he missed the old pervert greatly. Alright, let me go feed and change Naruto-chan. Wake up Enko-chan, then we can head over to the Hokage Tower. Quite a lot of people want to see me humiliate you, especially the women. Jiraiya let loose a booming laugh. Please Gaki. I doubt you could take me now, I know how strong you are. You even said you'd let me use Sage Mode. Naruto laughed in return. Erosen and I nearly killed you with only 4 tails of Kyuubi's Yuki. I can control 5 tails of the Jubi. That many tails could take on Kyuubi alone. Jiraiya paled before staring at him in shock. What the hell are you Gaki? Whatever, I doubt you've ever seen me go all out, and you can't use Sage Mode or your Bija cloak since you don't want to reveal your secrets. So I will win once I go into Sage Mode. Naruto just laughed at the old man's optimism before walking up the stairs. Naruto nodded at the clone outside Enko's room that dispelled before he banged loudly on the door. You can come in senpai, I'm naked. Jiraiya looked at the boy in shock knowing the girl's age while Naruto paled. Enko-chan, we got a guest. It was silent for a few moments. Well, you can tell Kurenai-chan and Rin-chan they can join us now. This caused the opposite effect and Jiraiya sent Naruto a lecherous grin that he groaned at. It's Jiraiya of the Sannin. Silence reigned for longer this time and she shouted, why? He sighed, because I'm going to beat him up in front of the majority of the village. The door opened to show a fully clothed Enko smile sadistically at the old pervert. Oh, and after the battle Enko, I'm going to look at getting rid of that hickey on your neck. I need Erosenen's opinion to see if it will work. The girl's eyes widened significantly before she looked at them both in shock. Jiraiya too looked at him in surprise since the collective minds of Minato, his sensei and himself couldn't find a way to counter or remove it. He created a Kage Bunshin. The clone will explain what I mean since you seem surprised. While it makes Naruto-chan some formula, she followed after the clone asking questions continuously while Naruto continued on to his room. Can you really do that Gaki? Naruto looked up and shrugged. I don't know for sure. We were looking at ways to remove or counter it from data we got in my time. I hope with that added knowledge and both our skills and seals we might find a way to do something about it. At the very least get the bit of that snake bastard's soul out of it. And here is your goddaughter Erosenen. Naruto glared at him when he said this and he chuckled nervously. I guess I didn't come see you when you were younger. The glare didn't leave before he let it drop. Side no. The first time I met you I was 12, but I think you might be the one who gave me Gamachan. From what you told me you were making sure I was as safe from outside sources like IWA while tailing that snake bastard's movements. I'll need you to do the same again for both of us. My similar appearance to Minato won't go unnoticed by spies. Jiraiya let out a sad sigh before looking down at the infant who had opened her eyes to the new face looking down at her. Well Gaki, how's it feel to be a dad? Naruto chuckled. Pretty weird for many reasons. I don't think I'll ever be able to reveal the truth to her when she's older though. Letting out a long sigh he nodded before his nose twitched, especially considering it was you that had to deal with this. I'll be downstairs Gaki. He shunshined out of the room leaving Naruto to change Naruto. Naruto left to take a quick shower while his clones changed her. 20 minutes later he came down in uniform with Naruto strapped in her harness, fully awake, looking at the two people giggling on the kitchen table. Narrowing his eyes Naruto stated, oh, what's so funny here? We ready to go? Enko smiled innocently that made Naruto shiver. He knew that smile. That was his smile, that was the prankster smile. Nothing senpai, just saying how close you might become to your 3 future babysitters. Looking over to Jiraiya who had his notebook out. Naruto paled. Don't you dare Erosenen. The man looked up like he just got caught peeping by Tsunade and quickly hid his notebook away. I don't know what you're talking about Gaki. Naruto looked at the both of the innocent looking ninja before turning and walking to the door. They quickly followed after. They left the gate and began walking through the village. So Jiraiya stated, Agaki, why don't we just shunsh into the tower? Naruto looked back before shrugging. This makes more sense. Word will spread you are here so more people will see me kick your ass since I've got even more motivation now. He scoffed at the boy but noticed everyone was indeed whispering all around. Reaching the tower they saw Anbu leave the tower in multiple directions and Naruto started laughing. Oh, people are eager to see your humiliation Erosenen. Jiraiya froze where he was. You got motivation? Oh, I got motivation for that nickname Gaki. You better hold on to your end of the deal. Naruto just smirked but he was wondering what he would do to compete with Sage Mode Jiraiya. Taijutsu. Ninjutsu would be useless but he did have one more ace in the hold that would come in handy. Reaching the office the secretary's eyes widened. Jiraiya-sama, go right, and she looked at the other two with him then at the baby but she didn't dare glare in front of Naruto. Walking into the office Naruto exclaimed, Yo Hokage Gigi. You got a place to kick this old pervert's ass yet? Jiraiya stood to his full height. Will you stop saying that? You can't even use your secret power up if you want it to remain secret. You stand no chance. Gaki Hiruzen chuckled before signaling the Anbu and ordering them to gather everyone at Training Ground 40, the standard Jounin training grounds. You were my last worry in regards to Naruto-kun. Jiraiya-kun. Plus I see he revealed his secret and origin? Jiraiya nodded. Naruto had told him the false story he gave plus the real one just in case. Very well, I'll cancel all meetings for the morning and will meet you both there shortly. They all bowed before walking out of the office. Enko-chan, I'll leave Naruto-chan with you during the fight, alright? It's your job to keep her safe. Anko looked up surprised before nodding with a massive grin plastered on her face. Naruto appeared in a shunshin at Training Ground 40. He was intrigued since there was a large lake nearby. Besides that, there was a large open area perfect for practicing jutsu, and since it was off the side to the mountain, a strong breeze was flowing, making the area perfect for training. He unbuckled Naruto and gave her over to Anko, making sure she was secure. As he started to walk away, he quickly turned and began giving the purple-haired Chunin the scrolls with formula and changing table. Anko quickly interrupted his lecture though. Naruto quickly discovered that it seemed taking care of babies was part of a kunoichi's separate training while at the academy, so Anko knew exactly what to do. Naruto went into sage mode and channeled some of Jubi's chakra, 4 tails worth, and created 4 clones. Each had a chakra cloak with 1 tail: fire, earth, water, lightning. He stated each element with a finger pointing to a clone each. He then sent them to the 4 areas on the outskirts of the grounds. Naruto shined Anko and Naruto outside of the soon-to-be barrier. Setting them down, stand back Anko-chan. Once she did as instructed, he brought out 1 tail, and the clones all went through hand signs at the same time as him and slammed their hands into the ground. 5 kanji appeared on the ground underneath each clone and him representing each element, the clones transferring all their chakra to the seal before dispelling. Naruto's being wind. Slowly a silvery barrier formed, going high into the air and meeting up at a tip at the top. It slowly shimmered and became invisible to the naked eye. Naruto was actually panting from the amount of chakra, natural energy, and yuki he put into it. Naruto could already feel his chakra replenishing steadily, and shined back over to Jiraiya. Noticing the man's questioning gaze, he explained, something tells me our attacks will do some damage. This barrier should stop the attacks from going into the crowds. I have no doubt Hokage Gigi will have set up some sort of protection, but with us spamming massive attacks, more than likely I thought this might be a good idea. It's a barrier they used to try and stop me and another Jinchuriki from escaping before I came back. Naruto didn't give Jiraiya the chance to comment on that last statement, so continued. Usually it would take 5 Jounin level shinobi proficient in one of the 5 elements to continuously pump chakra into it. It should have the potential to even hold off any Kage's elemental attack using most of their chakra theoretically with the amount of chakra I put in. Just for good measure I added natural energy and Furball's Yuki to hold off your sage attacks too. 1 tail is probably equal to a Kage, and I just put 5 tails worth into the barrier. So yeah, I think you get the point of how strong it is. The white-haired self-proclaimed super pervert grinned sadistically, realizing he really wouldn't have to hold back at all. He would have held back against Naruto if there was only limited protection for the spectators. After all, some of his attacks had the size and power to take out boss summons while in sage mode. Most Umbu wouldn't be able to react, let alone block most if not all of his sage techniques. Now the boy had pretty much given him the cards to victory. Jiraiya began to giggle like he had just spotted a lake full of naked women, causing Naruto to actually look around the area curiously. Seeing nothing, he furrowed his brows in confusion at what set the man off. After all, he had never really seen Jiraiya fight all out in a sparse situation where the aim isn't to kill the other man. Hell, he had never seen him fight all out at all. The perverted sage decided a test was in order and eyed Naruto. After all, he didn't want to waste his own chakra before the fight. Naruto let out a sigh at his former teacher, knowing what he wanted to see. Since he wouldn't be able to enter sage mode again during the fight, he gathered the natural energy again. To make sure no one besides Anko was currently watching them. Satisfied, he channeled some of Jubi's chakra too, but not even a tail's worth. Gaki, you better not be doing what I think you are. My chakra is far more potent than Kyuubi's. Using the tailed beast Rasengan without mastering my Yuki is just foolish, especially with the amount of Yuki you put into that barrier. Don't ignore me, Gaki. I said stop, you stupid fool. Naruto let out a sigh at the annoying wolf's demands within his head. He wasn't even planning on using the tailed beast Rasengan anyway. Shut up, Furball. I'm not a complete idiot. I was just going to use a giant Rasengan. The Jubi began muttering abusive comments as Naruto leapt into the air and created a giant Rasengan before slamming it into the barrier, which didn't show signs of strain at all. Dispelling the ball, he shined back to Jiraiya. Satisfied? Jiraiya let out a snort before a grin came onto his face. Well, a giant Rasengan is hardly one of my strongest attacks, but the barrier didn't look to weaken at all. So yeah, I guess I am Gaki. Naruto rolled his eyes as he realized what his former sensei was feeling. He is probably even stronger than the Sandaime, and has been for many years. There are probably few he could fight with on equal footing all out that isn't a life and death battle. Naruto was sure this, which is a simple spar, would be the best test to the old sage in years. Soon enough people began arriving in flocks. Naruto fell on the floor laughing when a civilian was walking briskly, ignored the shinobi standing just before the barrier and walked straight into it. The Hokage appeared with his personal Umbu squad and they all noticed the barrier immediately. The chakra pulsing around it was at well beyond even Kage level, and he knew Naruto must have done it. He had no doubt the shinobi not in the council meeting probably thought it was his former student. However, after another 10 minutes of waiting, he decided that the wait was more than enough. All the counselors, most Jonin, Chunin and important members of the civilian community were present. He had a feeling it wouldn't be a 2-second fight. No, this would be a lengthy Kage level battle with high-powered jutsu. It was why he had come with his personal Umbu. He was going to have them make a barrier to protect the audience. Hiruzen ordered his Anbu to keep around Enko and Naruto to keep them safe during the fight since they were no longer needed, and went through a set of hand signs. His projected voice bellowed out, "I believe you can begin now, Jiraiya-kun, Naruto-kun." No sooner as they heard the words, Naruto vanished and reappeared in front of Jiraiya. But the battle-hardened shinobi didn't earn the title of Sannin for nothing. He caught the incoming fist at the same time aiming a kick to the blonde's side. Naruto caught the leg and pushed it back, the now free hand heading for his opponent's face. Jiraiya let go of the fist he held and did 3 hand signs before slamming his hands to the ground. Earth release. Stone spears, sharp jagged spikes popped up from the ground aiming to pierce Naruto. The blonde leapt away from the spikes but noticed them popping up where he was going to land. Forming his most familiar hand sign, a shadow clone popped to existence, and threw him in another direction. Naruto was already through a set of hand signs when he landed lightning release. Lightning hounds, a group of dogs made of lightning, charged through the spikes heading for Jiraiya. But all they hit was a log. Fire release. Flame dragon bullet. Naruto didn't even turn in the direction of the voice, just quickly went through a set of hand seals and slammed his hands into the ground. Water release. Dense water wall. He was already running through another set as the water rose. Water release. Water dragon projectile. 3 elements. And Jounin exclaimed loudly, earning murmurs throughout the crowd. Even Hiruzen was stunned at the revelation. They weren't just simple attacks either, they had power behind them that usually takes years to master if it's not your primary element. The fire and water collided, resulting in a loud hissing and steam to appear. The water returned to the ground, revealing Naruto not even looking winded from the techniques. "Oh ho, impressive Uzumaki. I wonder who taught you such attacks?" Naruto snorted at the obvious hidden meaning behind the words. "Please, that old man I told you about wasn't that good of a sensei." Jiraiya's grin faded and he snorted, "Well, with that attitude I'm not surprised." Ninja art. Needle Jizo, his hair elongated and headed towards Naruto. "Come on, old man, you can do better than that." Earth release. Rock wall. Naruto taunted before slamming his hands into the ground. A hard rock wall rose out to block the spiked hair. "What the fuck, Gaki? You can use such powerful techniques from 4 elements? That has to be cheating." "Wait a minute, you said you created a super-powered wind release technique this morning? You can use all 5, Jiraiya stated incredulously. After all, he hadn't seen someone able to use all 5 elements since Nagato. But the boy had the Rinnegan. "Well, yeah, I can use all 5. My primary element is wind," Naruto stated, getting gasps from the sidelines that was able to travel all the way to the fighters. Naruto looked over innocently at the wide-eyed audience before turning back to Jiraiya. "How about we turn this up a notch, Ero-sennin?" Earth release. Rock prison. A solid rock wall appeared laced in chakra. He did this so the Hyuga wouldn't be able to see what he was about to do. "Alright, I think it's time for you to turn up the heat." Kuchios, the 2 elders, appeared in a puff of smoke in front of Naruto. "Hey guys, mind helping him go, Sage? I still find it funny you can't do it yourself, Ero-sennin." The man began glaring furiously. "I can do it myself, just not as fast as some freakish Gaki." Naruto just laughed, while the elders hopped onto the hermit's shoulders. Naruto watched his features changed and fell over laughing insanely. Jiraiya roared, "That's it, I'm not going to hold back, you little punk. You will see the true strength of GH. What was that for? Ma lectured you are in a battle. A battle has no time for meaningless squabble." Jiraiya muttered something about "do what you preach" that earned him another smack. Naruto stopped laughing and stood back up but wasn't prepared for the increase in speed. Jiraiya kicked him with great force, sending him through the rock wall. Naruto flipped and skid to a stop. "Wow, your strength is insane, Ero-sennin. Least that new look gives you something." Jiraiya came flying out of the hole Naruto's body made and roared, "Sage art. Super great ball Rasengan." Naruto's eyes widened as he barely dodged the attack. He cursed not being able to enter Sage mode too. Naruto knew he had to act fast and summoned 2 shadow clones, and all 3 began going through hand seals. Earth release. Mud bullets. Fire release. Phoenix fire barrage. Wind release. Wind bullets collaboration technique. Flaming boulders. Ma quickly went through some hand seals before letting loose a wide wave of water that removed the flames and slowed down the still steaming balls of mud. It was enough for Jiraiya to easily avoid. The 3 sages decided to do their own collaboration technique. Sage art. Oil stream. Sage art. Fire release stream. Sage art. Wind release stream collaboration technique. Bath of boiling oil. Naruto's eyes widened in shock. "Holy shit. He's not joking," he stated as he leapt high to avoid the oil that was incinerating all that it made contact with. It kept traveling, heading towards the barrier, and some of the spectators screamed. The Hokage, Anbu, and some elite Jounin arrived and shunshed the people away. Quickly turning in the direction of the barrier, they began to go through hand seals for powerful water release techniques. It proved unnecessary as the wave smashed into the barrier but still didn't break through it. Hiruzen couldn't believe the strength of it. Naruto meanwhile was cursing. He felt that technique was a little overkill. He only was teasing the old hermit before. Creating a shadow clone. Water release. Great water shockwave. Wind release. Vacuum stream. The cold water wave smashed into the oil, causing a massive amount of steam to release, which was blown away from the immediate area by Naruto's wind release attack. Landing away from the area, he watched Jiraiya cautiously. The glint in the sage's eye was unnerving to say the least. He had to use his collaboration techniques much sooner than expected. "What the fuck is Uzumaki-san? Even Jiraiya-sama's attacks are ridiculous." They could probably take out an army with some of them, Fugaku Uchiha stated with obvious shock written all over his face. All within hearing range turned towards the usually calm Uchiha in shock. The man never showed much emotion and was possibly as stoic as the Hyuga. Many turned to the group of Hyuga nearby and saw the shocked looks there as well before turning back to the fight to see what unbelievable event would happen next. Needless to say, no one would deny the strength of either ninja. There was a roar of that brought everyone's attention back to the fight. The two fighters were engaged in a fierce taijutsu battle, both using a very odd form that did seem similar in some ways to some of the taijutsu users in the audience. Well, those fighters who were able to keep up anyway. Naruto was launched back by an invisible hit with the frog kata. Sage art. Hair needle barrage. Thousands of white razor-sharp needles were quickly descending upon Naruto. Gasping for air after the powerful natural energy hit, he quickly began going through hand seals. He stated earth release. Double rock shelter. A thick slab of rock rose up and surrounded Naruto, blocking him completely from view. Another formed a dome around that slab. He quickly sat and entered sage mode, not caring if anyone noticed at this point. Those needles would skewer him alive, and he doubted, even with the amount of chakra he pumped into the wall, that it would be enough. He also pumped some of Jubi's Yuki just in case. He heard the needles impacting against the dome. He also felt something strange was happening with his eyes. It was stinging even though he was in sage mode. Perhaps that form you had when you tamed Kyubi wasn't a coincidence, Gaki the giant wolf stated ominously. Ignoring the beast, he focused a nice technique he learned from Kuratsuchi. Now he thought about it, she would be around 10 now, and they did always get along during his training. Maybe he'd help her out in a few years. She did complain how having a Kekai Genkai in IWA had her treated. Shrugging away those thoughts when he felt the outer wall crumble, he focused on Jiraiya's position. Earth release, earth cannon. Jiraiya heard a rumbling and stopped his assault just as he was launched into the air from the earth beneath him. What the hell? That Gaki lied. He can only find me using that. I can sense he was too. Little Ma smacked him, and he shut up to focus on Naruto's position as he descended. Naruto let the natural energy leave him as well as the Yuki. Leaving the dome, he winced when he saw how close the dome came to failing him. Oddly enough, he could see Jiraiya moving slower, as if he was floating down instead of falling. Confused, he created a clone. They went through signs: water release, great water dragon projectile, lightning release, lightning stream collaboration technique, dragon's vengeance. The excessively large electrified dragon headed towards Jiraiya at a fast speed. Whether it was the lightning element running through it, the man wasn't sure. Taking a note out of Naruto's book, not seeing another way out of this one, he summoned a clone that threw him away, just before it was swallowed by the dragon. The resulting explosion of water and electricity was an impressive sight to see. Jiraiya landed huffing as his sage mode had ended. The elders looked at him before shouting out, "He's done, Naruto boy. We're leaving." They vanished in a puff. Naruto too was huffing as that last attack took a lot of even him. He had been spamming quite a few attacks too, and his eyes had finally stopped twitching. He did a few seals and the barrier fell. He began walking towards Jiraiya with a proud smirk on his face. "I think it's safe to say I proved myself." Haero-sen, the man scowled when he looked up but gasped when he saw Naruto's eyes. "What's wrong?" Jiraiya pointed at him. "Your eyes, Gaki. Create a clone and take a look." Confused Naruto did as suggested and looked at the clone. "HHH, what the fuck?" he bellowed when he saw purple eyes with one ring and two tomi on it. "It might be a byproduct of having me and you, Gaki. Then again, the way you mastered the Kyubi is completely different to other Jinchuriki. Your chakra cloak form was like the sage of the six paths. That eye looks to be the early stages of his, but I don't want eyes like that. It's freakier than the Hyuga." The Jubi let out a roar or laughter, then turn it off. "Gaki, that Rinnegan user you fought wasn't the real thing, which is why he couldn't turn it off. I was with the sage for years. I know this for a fact." Naruto began to panic but tried to do as the Jubi suggested. He just to shut off the flow of chakra to his eyes. The toads taught him this during sage training when he freaked out sensing everything within a mile. The clone let out a sigh of relief. "It's gone, boss." It then dispelled. "So Gaki, what's with the eyes?" Naruto looked over to Jiraiya just as the Hokage and practically everyone began to make their way over. Naruto rubbed the back of his neck and got a sheepish grin. "I apparently unlocked a Kekai Genkai through the intense battle. Apparently. I was told it might happen since I became the Jinchuriki of the Jubi." The counselor's eyes widened in surprise before Hamura stated, "I think everyone would agree you at the very least deserve the title of Elite Jounin Uzumaki-san. May we see this Kekai Genkai of yours?" Nodding, Naruto channeled chakra to his eyes and everyone who could see them let out a collective gasp, the Uchiha in particular when they saw the Tomi. "Do you know what this Dijutsu is, Uzumaki-san?" Danzo asked. He was quite concerned from the display of power he witnessed in the battle, from both shinobi. He was clearly not able to match them in strength, and he was certain the same was for his rival. Even if he was to beat his old rival, these two were loyal to Hiruzen from what he knew and would stand against him. Naruto now looked nervous and looked over at Jiraiya and Hiruzen looking for a way out. When none came, he sighed in defeat before he muttered, "I think it might be the first stage of the Rinnegan." The eyes bugged out all around him. A few were quite vocal in their disbelief, thinking it only to be a legend. Others had a thoughtful look on their faces. After all, it might be a legend. Those eyes, however, did belong to the so-called greatest ninja of all time. A shinobi able to use all 5 elements, and shake fear and even the bijou, which is what Naruto had also proven. I see, was all the Sandaime Hokage stated, giving a meaningful look to Jiraiya, who looked shell-shocked at the information. What are the chances he was to be destined to train 2 Rinnegan users? He couldn't get over the fact it looked different to Nagato's. Naruto did say first stage, so perhaps the Tomi would disappear when a new ring appeared? Naruko began crying and Naruto rushed over, and she kept crying until he realized the eyes must have scared her. Turning them off, she stopped and looked at him innocently, causing him to sweat drop. Chuckles were heard around. One female Uchiha stated, our children do the same when they see the Sharingan. Clearing his throat, Hiruzen stated, well, I think you have proven you are worthy of the title Elite Jounin. Are there any who oppose this decision? No one did so. With that, people began to leave, talking in loud statements, highlights of the fight they had just witnessed. Uzumaki-san, we would like you to meet us in the council chamber 2 weeks from today. We will send out an umbu to get you on the day, Kohara stated. Naruto was confused by the statement but nodded. Once everyone but Naruto, Anko, Jiraiya, Hiruzen and of course Naruko left, Hiruzen stated, Jiraiya-kun, I never realized you had become that strong. You could easily take my place as Hokage. Before the sage could protest, Naruto spoke, that can happen, at least not now. We need someone trustworthy gathering intel outside Konoha. Also keep Naruko-chan and my relations under wraps. There is also the dire need to keep an eye on someone's movements. Anko's eyes narrowed as even without directly stating the name she knew who her senpai was speaking of. Hiruzen nodded at the fact. Also, I'm hardly trustworthy enough to be made Kami. Even 10 years from now I might not be. I can also be used in more dangerous missions in the future. With a sigh, knowing that Naruto was raising valid points all round, he conceded. Very well, you are correct, Naruto-kun. I must say I am shocked at your level of skill. At 18 it is unheard of for someone so young to show such promise. Especially considering you didn't use your Yuki. Naruto chuckled lightly and Jiraiya shouted, lies, he did you it. Don't you try to deny it, Gaki. You hit me with that attack even though you couldn't see me. Naruto didn't confirm nor deny the claim, and the old Hokage chuckled, before calling his umbu and shined away. Alright guys. Now to take care of that hickey. Anko beamed as they shined back to the now Uzumaki residence. Walking to the living room, Naruto created a clone to explain what was likely to happen to Anko. Meanwhile, Naruto went to the basement with Jiraiya to go over all the notes and theories they had come up with 18 years from now. Over the next week they discussed the curse mark in great detail. Jiraiya was surprised to hear what the source of the curse mark actually was, also to find what could happen to a person with a fully functional one. When he got to removing it, the process got a lot more technical. The information they had gathered in the future was based on the completed curse mark. Anko, however, had the prototype and was very lucky to even be alive from what they knew of some of the other cases. This made the removal difficult as they weren't entirely sure if it was applied with the same method and purpose as the completed version. After some time pondering it back and forth, the Jubi was actually a big help since it had the memories of the Hachibi, so was able to give more detailed information than what Killer Bee had told him. The Bija had photographic memory, so they were able to recreate the documents after a few hours and go much more in depth in it. What they found was interesting. Apparently the part of Okokimaru in the seal was tied into the mark itself, so to get rid of the seal all they had to do was remove the tainted soul. The problem came through how to remove it. The easiest way would be transferring it to something else. This is a problem though, as it was acting like a parasite on Anko's chakra. If they were to remove it, there is a chance it could damage her chakra coils permanently, if not possibly even killing her. After a few more hours passed, they decided if her chakra was sealed with the 5 elements seal, the taint wouldn't be able to leech off her coils. Then it would just be a simple method of transferring it into a scroll. Anko-chan, are you sure you want to do this? We don't know for sure this will work, Naruto asked her seriously at the end of the week. Kurenai had insisted on being there for the procedure. Rin was looking after Naruko. Anko looked up with pure confidence radiating in her eyes. It was more than any words could state, and Naruto nodded to Jiraiya. Gojo Fuin, he stated before slamming his hand into her stomach. She gasped out before fainting from the pain and sudden loss of chakra in her system. They left her for an hour to make sure the taint had no access to her chakra before proceeding. Naruto cursed when he realized she was still not wearing anything under her top. She was even worse younger than she was older in his opinion with her perverted ways. Nonetheless, he drew the seals around the cursed seal. That, unfortunately for the Jinchuriki, happened to be part of her left breast. Kurenai was growling when she saw him doing it, but Jiraiya told her sternly it was necessary. Once done, he had Jiraiya look over his drawings and was shocked that not one perverted giggle had left him the entire time. Obviously the seriousness of the situation kept him from doing his usual mannerisms. That, and even now Kurenai's skill in genjutsu was impressive, especially her anti-pervert ones. Nodding his head after Jiraiya confirmed it all looked good, he went through a long set of hand seals, placed one hand on the curse seal and the other on the scroll that had a similar seal array but a blank center. Fearing his hand on Anko glowed and Anko's eyes shot open and she began screaming and thrashing about. Jiraiya had expected this might happen and held her down with Kurenai's help. The seal drawn around the curse mark shrunk to form a ring around it. It then glowed like Naruto's hand before vanishing completely. Naruto's other hand began to glow before a kanji for taint appeared on the scroll. Done, Naruto said as he removed his hands and smiled at the unblemished skin he was now seeing. Jiraiya released the 5-element seal and Anko immediately tried to stand. It was obviously difficult, and Naruto helped her up while trying to keep the shirt he had covered her up with after drawing the seal. Walking over to the mirror, she gasped when she saw the mark that haunted her dreams was gone. Crying, she spun around and clutched onto Naruto, saying thank you repeatedly. Naruto merely ruffled her hair, unsure of what exactly to do. Jiraiya, now that everything had worked out, began giggling like Naruto had expected earlier. He sent him a scowl, and Jiraiya whispered out loudly, "You should have seen his blush, Enko-chan." The girl pulled back and let out a victorious grin. "Did you like what you saw, senpai?" In pulling back, the shirt dropped, and he turned red before looking down instinctively. His eyes immediately looked to Kurenai, who had narrowed eyes. "Enko-chan, don't provoke him. Naruto-san, don't fall for the obvious tricks. And you can stop that giggling, right? What are you doing?" Jiraiya, who had his notepad out, let out an audible gulp. "Gaki, I'm leaving Konoha. I heard word on a lead and I have to follow it. Plus some ideas for the next Ika. I'll try to visit whenever I'm back in town." Later he shined out as soon as he saw Kurenai put the pieces together, and was flying through hand seals. She let out a roar, and Naruto muttered quietly, "Why is she so scary?" Kurenai spun around to face him, and he gulped, "I'll be out back," before leaving the same way as his former sensei. The next week passed without much happening. He had begun by finding out their elemental affinities. Rin had earth, Enko had fire, and Kurenai's didn't do anything at first. After trying to put a lot more chakra into it, the paper slightly crinkled, showing a very weak lightning affinity. Well, that would explain her not using elemental attacks in the future. She doesn't actually have a strong affinity to any, plus lightning is more of a close-range affinity too. Naruto of course knew some people didn't have an obvious primary affinity, like Tsunade, who focused on other areas. The Hyuga too focused on their taijutsu rather than ninjutsu or genjutsu. Guy, despite having a strong fire affinity, never used ninjutsu. But he thought it would be a good idea to teach Kurenai something other than just genjutsu. He could see why it took her another 12 years to become good enough with it to earn a jounin status. He had each of the girls practicing weak jutsu with his clones watching them and giving advice when he went to the meeting with the council. He shined directly to the tower and walked towards the council chambers. "Ah, perfect timing, Uzumaki-san. We were about to send for you. Now do you know why you were called here?" Hamura asked curiously. Naruto shook his head, as he honestly had no clue what they would want with him, considering he was still on probation. Hiruzen got a small smirk on his face that had the Jinchuriki tense up slightly. Some of the others saw this action and chuckled lightly. "We called you here as the fact you have joined Konoha, your sheer strength. The fact you wield a Kekai Genkai, that may pass on to your daughter and other children you may have. As well as the Uzumaki clan being former allies to our village, we wish for you to join the council once your probation ends as the head of the Uzumaki clan. Do you accept, Uzumaki-san?" Koharu stated calmly. Naruto's eyes bugged out in shock at being asked such a thing. "Hey Wolfie, can Naruto get it, or did I get it from you?" The Jubi snorted. Well, Naruto thought it was a snort possibly, even though that tablet apparently states I gave the sage those eyes. That isn't the case. So I guess it is possible for the Kyubi Jinchuriki, yes. It might only activate under certain conditions like the Sharingan. As I said, your Kyubi mastered form was much like the sage. You all agree to this? One by one each face he turned to nodded. Even Danzo did, which shocked him. Sure, I guess. It would be an honor to sit on the council with you guys. Many looked quite pleased while the other half held neutral gazes. Shrugging, Naruto stated, "Is that all?" Hiruzen looked sternly at Naruto. "A moment, Jiraiya-kun informed me that the two of you discovered a method to remove the cursed seal from Enko Mitarashi. How did you come up with the method?" Jiraiya did not delve into the details. Meanwhile, the rest of the council seemed surprised at the words. The foolish civilians thought the seal made her a slave ready to betray them all at the instant her master orders her. Thus the treatment they gave the girl. The others simply thought it was not possible, as the combined efforts of the Sandame, Yandame and Jiraiya could not find a method to remove it. Naruto was toying with the idea of refusing to answer, but he could see how that would lead to them thinking he might be in league with Orochimaru somehow. With a sigh he stated, "Basically we deduced what the seal was and did. It seemed to affect her chakra coils, so that suggested it fed on chakra or acted somewhat like a parasite leeching off it. After that I asked Jiraiya of the effects you saw before you sealed off the effects. It appeared that a piece of Orochimaru Baka, or at least his will, was in the seal itself." The civilians muttered something, but Naruto ignored them for the moment. If she were to activate the seal, Orochimaru could theoretically act as a little voice in the back of her mind, guiding her to take a certain action, like returning to him, for example. Thankfully Enko-chan is smarter and more strong-willed to succumb to the little voice and ignored it completely. That there shows her strength of character. This got mutterings all around. Anyway, basically we theorized that if we were to seal off her chakra, the taint could potentially be removed. The taint is directly linked with the seal, so removing that would remove the seal. Naruto looked down as if pondering his next thoughts. Honestly, we weren't sure if this would work. If it didn't, it could have damaged her coils permanently or even resulted in her death. Thankfully we were right, and I was able to move the seal to a scroll and had it properly disposed of. Danzo looked up and met Naruto's eye. "Why destroy it when it could be studied?" Naruto looked at the old warhawk like he was an idiot looking for a way to impose your will on others. "Shimura-san, such knowledge should be treated as kinjutsu as far as I'm concerned. Influencing someone in such a way is sick, and if I ever meet that snake bastard I'll show him just what I think of his child-obsessed like ways." "Yes, Hokage Gigi. I've heard of some of what that bastard has done in the past. The old Hokage looked down in sadness, knowing full well how sick and disturbed his former favorite pupil had become. Just where did he go so wrong? Was it the wars that were fought? The constant death that made him so cruel and sadistic? He honestly wasn't sure what happened to that sweet innocent child he had once known and taught the ways of the shinobi. Very well, Naruto-kun, that is all we needed to discuss. Thank you for your service to Anko-chan. Naruto bowed before shining out and back to his house, where he saw the girls hadn't made much progress. He chuckled before going over and giving them a hand where he could. What if Naruto seals the Jubi in himself? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel, and leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down, and thanks for watching the video, and see you guys in the next video.